First, was the meeting posted?
Yes.
First on the agenda.
Commission will now take up the matter of applications for special one-day license for alcoholic beverages for beer and wine only, or either one. Daniel Berube of the Merrimack Repertory Theater for scheduled theatrical performances and a concession sales service 30 minutes prior to the performance and during a 15-minute intermission. There are 19 dates, starting with tonight, November the 20th, through December the 14th, 2008. Also, Paul Regan of Molly Kay's Pub for Wednesday, November 26, 2008, from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. The event is a Thanksgiving party, a beer concession in the parking lot of Molly Kay's Pub at 489 Middlesex Street.
Okay, introduce yourself for the record, please.
Paul Regan, Molly Kay's Pub.
Dan Berube, Merrimack Repertory Theater.
Okay, Dan, have you been before us before?
I have not.
You have not, okay. All right. I'm going to give you the abbreviated version. We have a large crowd here today, all right? But it's important that you understand, if this license is issued, it's your license. It is not the Merrimack Theater's license, it's your license. Your name is going to appear on that license, okay? Therefore, the responsibility for anything that happens. Now, you would say to me, well, you know, it's only a 30-minute prior to the performance or during the intermission. Unfortunately, we have a society where people will say, you know, let's go out tonight. We'll go out, we'll go to some bar, we'll have a few drinks. Maybe we get something to eat, maybe we won't. We'll go to the theater. We've already had 2 or 3. We go to the theater, well, you know, we'll go have a drink in between or just before. And you know what? You're the last place they drank. And so guess what? You're the guy that's going to be held to the fire, okay? So we need to know that you know and you realize the responsibility that you're taking on, regardless of the pressure of any board of directors or any executive director, anybody involved with the theater. If they're so willing, you tell them, why don't you go down and put the liquor license in your name? That'll save me from having to say, close the bar. And you have every right to do that. If for any reason you think a minor is being served or somebody is maybe had something other than alcohol and they're acting strange and you don't want them served, you say to the bartender, that guy doesn't get served, or you can say to the bartender, the bar's closed, that's my liquor license. And if they give you any grief, you know what? You dial 911 and you tell the police department, I'm at the auditorium and I need some help, and they will be there for you, and you will not get in trouble. You will not get in trouble. They will not, you know, chastise you or anything. That's what they're there. They're there to help you. They're there to work with you, and they're to prevent anybody from getting in any problems so that later on we don't meet under some adverse conditions, okay?
Yes.
Do you have any questions whatsoever?
No.
None, okay? Paul, you've done this before. You know, we've never had any problems with you. I like your haircut, you know? You have any questions?
No, sir.
It's a fenced-in area, control it. Drinks don't go from the inside out and the outside in. They're 2 separate entities, correct?
Correct.
Correct. Parking.
Yes.
Have you, you can't block the street. You
Correct.
realize you got to keep the street open.
The street will not be blocked.
Okay, all right. Any questions?
No question.
Any questions?
No questions. I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve the licenses as
Seconded.
requested.
Motion made and seconded to approve both licenses. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Take care, guys. I hope everything works out great. Next on the agenda.
Commission will now take up the application for public amusement license for,
So Paul, excuse me. You're not going to have any outdoor sound?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, sorry, I just glanced, it just came, I meant to ask it, sorry. Excuse me a second. Next.
Commission now take up the matter of an application for public amusement for concert for event at the Songus Arena. Robert Fode is the representative. It's a KISS 108 FM Jingle Ball rock concert. KISS 108 FM is the promoter. Joseph Mazie is the representative for Thursday, December 11th, 2008, from 7 p.m. to 12:30 a.m.
Introduce yourself for the record, please.
Robert Fode from the Songus Arena.
Okay.
I have no, I'll make a motion to approve the license.
Second.
Look at that. Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Next on the agenda. If they were all that easy.
That's the same license every year.
Commission will now take up the matter of an application for a secondhand motor vehicles used car dealer, Class 2. Application is by Ronald Jeffroy of doing business as Jeffroy's Auto Sales. License number is 586-B. Request to transfer the Class 2 license from 6 King Street to 115 Rock Street, Unit 1. This being an open lot, approximately 700 square feet, with a garage area approximately 1,380 square feet. Attached to the application is a communication from James Erickson of the Urban Renewal Project Manager. He's a City of Lowell employee. Dated November 18, 2008. He outlines the circumstances of Mr. Jeffroy's relocation and as it pertains to the Hamilton Canal District.
Introduce yourself for the record.
Ronald Jeffroy,
Okay, Ron, how long have you been in the business?
about 12 years.
12 years. How many complaints have you had against you?
None that I know of.
None that you've ever been here for?
No.
Okay, I've read the letter from the city. I gathered that your spirit of cooperation in moving for the Hamilton Mills, Hamilton Canal District complex, they say that you cooperated 100%, so I'm going to cooperate 100% and ask my commissioners, have you read the cover letter?
I'll go ahead and I'll make the motion.
I'll second the motion.
Look at that. Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. And
Thank
on
you.
behalf of the city, thank you for a spirit of cooperation.
Thank you.
All right, good luck in your business.
Thank you.
Commission will now open a hearing on an application by Mama Jason's Inc., Irene Harris, President, for a malt beverages and wine only packaged goods store license for premises at 558 Gorham Street, there being an unnumbered door on the south side of the building, one room for retail store, approximately 1,400 square feet, a basement for storage. Irene Harris, proposed manager of record for Mama Jason's Inc. The application for common victular license has been filed by Irene Harris of Mama Jason's Inc. There is a communication from James W. Flood III, attorney for the applicant, Mama Jason's, dated November 13th, requesting a continuance, republication of legal notice, and a hearing date for possibly the month of December.
You have any problem with that?
Attorney Flood, when would you like the hearing to be?
Assuming that we can have publication in time, December 4th, I believe that's the next available.
Can't do it on the 4th. We're
Okay.
really- we got a lot of,
Well, there is a filing fee to cover the expense
Yeah.
of the publication.
Okay.
I haven't received it yet.
I'll bring that in the office. I thought it would be presumptuous for me to bring the check without,
the city of Lowell, you know, we,
I'll bring that by tomorrow, as a matter of fact.
So I would suggest, Mr. Chairman, if you consider the hearing date from the December 18th meeting.
it's right by me.
It's fine.
December 18th, all right?
It's amenable.
Make a motion, we continue to December 18th.
Second?
All in favor, say yes.
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 Next on the agenda.
Very much.
Commission will now open a hearing on an application by Yashoda Corp., doing business as Economat, Samir P. Patel, the treasurer, for a malt beverage and wine only packaged goods store license for premises at 1280 Lawrence Street, one room for retail store, approximately 1,300 square feet. It is requested that Samir P. Patel be approved as the manager of record for Yashoda Corp. Mr. Chairman, this required legal notice to be published and abutters to be notified. I have all of the pertinent papers for your review.
I've gone through the cards. Introduce yourself for the record, please.
Sure. My name is Attorney Dan Tenzar. I have a business address of 327 Gorham Street in Lowell, Mass. I'm an attorney, and I'm representing Yashoda Corp., but more importantly, Samir Patel and his dad, Prashenda, who own the business. It's a family business. It's a business that they picked up about 4 years ago. My client is a proud graduate of Lowell High School in 1992. He went on to UMass Lowell in the business program. He's a graduate of UMass Lowell, and he wanted to stay in the area. His folks settled down. They have a house that they share over in Pawtucketville, and they wanted to be in business. Prior to buying the Economart 4 years ago, they were involved in the prior convenience store, helping out, assisting, and occasionally working there. Since that time, Mr. Samir Patel has been married. He has a couple of kids since graduating from college, and he's trying to support them. Him and his family, he works the bulk of the hours, some crazy hours. I mean, if you talk to your kids or you talk to us about working 70, 80 hours, we'd be looking at you like you have two heads. But Samir has a great work ethic. He works on an average 70, 80 hours, and then other members of the family fill in. Prior to coming before you, Mr. Patel and I have had a conversation, and one of the things I asked him was, what is your training? What is your experience? Because that's one of the things the board's going to look at. And he said, well, I used to help out at a gas station convenience store where they sold beer and wine, so I am aware of the issues. And I said, well, things change over time. I think it would be good to follow up and go to TIPS training, which he did. He had signed up, and I believe it was last night. Is that correct? Yes. He went to the training last night. He's taken the exam. He doesn't know the results, but he's obviously optimistic. And we're certainly not presumptuous by doing that. It's important for the long run for Mr. Patel for anything, whether it be the sale of cigarettes, which he does have a cigarette license, whether it be lottery tickets, which he does have a lottery ticket license. He also has an assortment of other licenses, a food establishment license, a Western Union license. So obviously the state and the city have put great trust in Mr. Patel. Why is he doing this? That's what I asked him. I said, why do you want to get involved in this? He said, well, basically, I've seen a downturn in the economy, and I've also seen that other convenience stores have different products to offer or different selections, even including beer and wine. And as a result, what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a drop in my gross profits. I'm seeing a 20% drop in gross profits this year alone. And so his idea was, look, broaden the product array, and as a result, potentially boost his profits so he can remain profitable, 1. 2, a businessman in Lowell. 3, we don't need any more empty storefronts, and he had talked to his landlord about that. He said, you know, I need this. This is something I need to remain competitive in this area. And so his landlord talked to him about it, and they hashed it through, and his landlord, I believe, may be here to speak on behalf of Mr. Patel. Prashenda, his dad, who is seated right here, also helps Samir, but basically Samir is the chief cook and bottle washer. He's the primary person, he's the point person, and he's potentially the manager that could be appointed if you folks seem so inclined. He comes here hat in hand. It's my understanding he doesn't have any record. It's my understanding, based on what Mr. Patel has told me, is he's proud to be a Lowellian. He's a proud graduate, UMass Lowell, Lowell High School. He's a businessman in Lowell, and as a result, he wants to remain a businessman in Lowell. So the long and the short of it is that he's asking for your help to remain competitive for a beer and wine license only. Can you bring that outside, please? He's asking for your help in approving this beer and wine license. This, unlike many of the prior applications and prior agenda items, may not be as quick, but he does have a number of people that have come into his store and have indicated their approval. And I have something for the board, if I might submit it. One is his application to get TIPS training, which was apparently last night, as well as people in support of his beer and wine license, people that live in the area. Eugene Street, Lawrence Street, Roper Street, Rockingham Street, people from the area. It's my understanding that I didn't count them all, but there's over 150 signatures. If I might submit those to the board, may I approach?
Certainly. One copy. Okay.
I think that's pretty much it, Mr. Bayless. I know there are people here that would like to speak in support and opposition to this petition. If you have any questions.
All right. Did we do a check, a background check?
There's no record, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Why don't we start out? It's a public hearing, you know, and I'm not making light of the petition. I kind of like to see who shows up, because to me it always seems that you get an awful lot of people to support you, to write a paper or something, but then all of a sudden, when you start calling the numbers, you look around and you're standing there by yourself. So why don't you step back for a second, and we're going to open the hearing up to those people in favor of the beer and wine license. If anybody's here would like to speak in favor, I'd ask you to get up to the mic and name your name, address, where you live, please.
My name's Paul Sweeney. I live at 19 Billerica Ave, about a mile and a half from the store.
Okay.
It's my place where I frequent. It's my local convenience store. With them getting a beer and wine license, I can do all my shopping in one place. I don't need to stop at one place and grab a six-pack of beer and then get my cigarettes and my lottery and everything. I frequent the store 3 or 4 times a week. They're very respectful. Place is always calm and quiet, and I'm all in favor of them getting a beer and wine license.
Okay, thank you. Next.
My name's Paul Smith, 25 Hollis Street, Lowell, Mass.
Where?
25 Hollis Street in Lowell, Mass. And I've been going to Sam's since he opened it. Very fine gentleman, always cordial. All of his patrons seem to be fine. I've never seen an incident in there whatsoever. I'm very in favor of it. I think it would be a convenience to the neighborhood. I really do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else to speak in favor? Yes.
Hi, my name is Magdi Tawadros. I'm the landlord for Samir, and I live in Pelham, New Hampshire, 46 Woodlawn Drive.
Yeah.
And I just came here today to support them. You know, and I would like to give them that chance.
Okay.
And I know that people around them, everybody right now, they have beer and wine, you know, across the street from them, like about maybe 500 miles. So I mean,
all right.
And you know, I'm very concerned about the beer and wine too. And you know, there is nothing is going to last forever. I control the lease, and if I have any trouble in the future with them, and I'm telling that in front of him.
Okay, so you're the landlord?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And if you have any trouble with them in the future, you know, they're going to have to pay for it.
Okay.
So I just would like to give them the chance. They are good people. They pay in time. I have no problem whatsoever so far with them. So I would like to just to give them, you know, the chance to, you know, to sell beer and wine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Hi, my name is Harash Patel. I'm brother of Samir. We live together. I put a lot of hours at the store, and I own one of the units on Rockingham Street, and I'm in support of the beer and wine license.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody else in favor? In favor? Yes.
Yeah, my name's Kent Chigley. I live right down the street from Samir.
Did you get his name?
Kent Chigley.
Ken Shipley.
Yeah.
Ken
I've known him about a year, and I know he works hard and everything. He,
I'm sorry, sir. Would you repeat your name?
Kent Chigley.
You got it? I had my teeth fixed. My hearing's not working. It's okay. Go ahead.
I know he works hard and everything there, and I noticed his business has dropped off somewhat since these other stores down the street and around the neighborhood have got their license.
Yeah.
So I think he deserves a fair chance at it.
Okay.
I do a lot of donation to the state there with the lottery, but
All right, thank you, sir. Anybody else? Anybody else in favor? In favor? In favor? That portion of the hearing is closed. Anybody to speak in opposition? Just come to the mic, introduce yourself.
Reverend Horace Clayton, 6 Delmore Drive, Chelmsford, Mass. I'm a member of the Lawrence Street Primitive Methodist Church. I am also on the National Trustee Board, which handles all property in the United States for the Primitive Methodist denomination. I rise in opposition simply for the fact the neighborhood, I believe, is being overcrowded with this type of an establishment. Last year, I believe within this last year or two, there was one almost immediately across from the church that we fought up to the state level and were not successful. But I believe with that being a business in the area, there and others that are quite reasonably reached as far as closeness, there is really no need. And if I may state, by my
They don't want to hear it again.
they don't want to hear me. It's a big one. One of my major problems with any of this type of store, it goes from a convenience store to a package store type operation, with rare exceptions that the stores that have been converted to this type of license no longer handle the product that would bring anyone else but someone asking for alcoholic beverages. Most of the time it becomes that and primary, a Keno lottery type operation, not conducive, I believe, to a neighborhood operation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Good afternoon. My name is Bill Ronsley. I live at 26D Rockingham Street, the building immediately adjacent to this business. My wife and I do frequent and use the business, but less than 200 yards away, there was another store given a beer and wine license. Number one, too close, too many, too often. But in addition to that, the store has been robbed several times within the last 10 years, and they have used our parking lot to go through and escape. It's a danger. It causes attraction for more criminal, and it just isn't needed within 200 yards. It's also a bus stop for school children. Great. People are out there in the morning, and I've seen them out there in the morning waiting for the bus while there's people in the trucks sitting there sucking down a beer. I like a beer too, but that's not the time for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's in here. Go
Thank
ahead,
you.
sir.
My name is Glenn Kendall. I'm a trustee at Old Brook Village Condominiums, directly behind the proposed location. I again frequent the store as well, and they are indeed great people. However, the location of the store, being again within really just a couple hundred yards of another location, the fact that it is set back from the strip mall and set back from the street puts it in a location that's not very well lit, not very well accessible from the street area. As Bill said, it has been held up several times. The parking lot serves as the drop-off area for the children and their return area when they come home. Not the street, but actually the parking lot. And several years ago, the owner of the building came to the city to ask to add an addition to the building. That addition now holds a barber shop. But at the time of the addition, many of the people around were concerned that a liquor store may go in. And at that time, the owner in defense of his application, stated on record that he would not put a liquor store in. So I just want to put that out there. I also have a petition that was signed by a number of people, both on our street and around it, in opposition to it.
Okay, you could bring that up if you want. I think we have that one, don't we? Is that this one?
I don't know if this might be a different
Okay.
one.
We have one that we received on,
November 20th.
from the barber shop.
Here's another one. Okay.
That's a different one.
Additional names to this one.
Okay. All right. Okay. You all set? Okay. Thank you very much. Anybody else to speak in opposition? In opposition? I almost said.
Hello, my name is Barbara Runsley, 2060 Rockingham Street. I have a short letter from a James and Lauren Lally at 21 Rockingham Street I'd like to read to you, and then I'll bring it up.
Okay.
It says, Dear Licensing Commission, although we are unable to attend the hearing today regarding the matter of Economart of Lawrence Street receiving a beer, wine, liquor license, our absence in no way reflects our very strong objection to this matter. A beer and wine license was recently given to Jerry's Food Store, which is located not even 2/10 of a mile from the proposed beer and wine addition to our neighborhood. It is bad enough that one very overpopulated school bus stop is located at Jerry's, but to add another bus stop beer store, Economart's parking lot also serves as a stopping point for elementary bus traffic is preposterous. It is not fathomable that there is such a demand for beer and wine, that there is a need for 2 stores selling alcohol within 2/10 of a mile span. Then in addition of the fact that our area is oversaturated with beer, wine, liquor stores, one on Woburn Street, one across from Shed Park, one on Rogers Street, indicates there is plenty of supply in our area to meet the demand. The proximity of the proposed location is highly objectionable, and we respectfully ask that we review the true need of such a store in our neighborhood. But I also, in addition, would like to say this is nothing personal. They are great people.
Thank you very much. Anybody else would like to speak? Speak in opposition.
Reverend David Allen, Lawrence Street Church. We oppose the sale of alcoholic beverages. We don't care for the disregard of the health of the people in our neighborhood by the sale of alcoholic beverages by anyone in our neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else in opposition?
My name is Henry Sykes, and I live at 1302 Lawrence Street. I've been the proprietor of Sykes the Florist for 60 years. Been a member, in the neighborhood for 81 years. And it just seems that if we let this license go through, that our neighborhood is going to be going downhill. And I'm opposed to it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else in opposition? In opposition?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name's Philip Nyman. I'm an attorney and I represent Jerry's Food Mart, which the young lady just referenced. We are 1/10 of a mile exactly from this proposed location. I shan't discuss competition and survival, except this distinguished board granted my client a license a year ago, and as a result of efforts by the church, we didn't get the license till the 6th of June of this year. I'm not here to talk about the competition. I'm here to say that the applicant has not met its burden in complying with what it has to do. It has to show that there is a need for a license. I refer this board to Ballerin versus Licensing Board of Boston at 49 Mass App 506, and that's very clear that there has to be a need, and the burden of showing the need rests with the applicant. The applicant told you a whole list of stories about his life and his family and his education. The applicant did not discuss in any way or show to you convincingly that there is a need for this license. Therefore, respectfully, on the basis of their lack of compliance with the law, we ask you to reject the application. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else to speak in opposition? In opposition? In opposition. That portion of the hearing's closed. Well, we also, just for the record, so that the record would show, we received a letter from Dennis Haddad, who is the barber shop, I guess, that is on Lawrence Street also, and we'd enter the letter into the record also. So, you want me to start? Sure. Okay. The answer is real simple. He is a nice guy. He probably, has he ever been picked up for selling cigarettes to minor? Probably not.
Not to my
We have no
knowledge,
record,
no.
okay. I mean, he sounds like a nice guy, he is, but, you know, I mean, I've been against these since they started. You know, we broke the dike and we allowed a couple, and there was no package stores or beer. This one here, there's one right on the next corner. You know, I can sympathize with you, I understand your plight. You bought a variety store. You bought a variety store. You did not buy a package store. You did not buy a beer and wine store. You bought a variety store. I'm not saying that, you know, it's the economy or what it is, but you bought a variety store. There's a man down the street who, you know, he got a beer and wine license because, unfortunately, and I say that very honestly, because I just don't think that variety stores should have beer and wine license. That's my personal opinion. But there was a need there. There was not a package store around him. There is a package store right around the corner from you. This board has taken a stand. You know, we've had, and again, we had a young man come in who was you know, a veteran, and you know, he had everything in the world, and he's a great family and a good guy. But a package store right on the next corner. I mean, it just gets to a point where you just don't need them. You just don't need one on every single corner in this city of Lowell. So, you know, that's my outlook on it, and that's as far as I'm going to say. Commissioner. Right, you want Brian, go? Brian, go.
Well, I agree wholeheartedly with you, Mr. Chairman, that I don't think that the applicant met their burden of showing that there was a need for a beer and wine store at that location. There is one at the one end of Lawrence Street. There's another one, like even the people that spoke in favor said a block away. And there's one at the top of Boylston Street, all within, as the crow flies, probably within a mile of each other. So I would be inclined to vote against the license.
Commissioner Waker.
I've always gone on the record in favor of a free market competition. I mean, I wouldn't care if we put all 22 beer, wine, and alcohol stores and all 22 beer and wine only stores on one city block. I have a feeling that the market would sort itself out and would quickly find that there would only be a few that were left standing, and those would only be the right ones as opposed to the ones that were doing the wrong thing, because it would make it a lot easier for the police to find where the alcohol is coming from when they see the kids running out down the street. That being said, we have now twice turned down people who were applying for package stores in extremely close proximity. And as Commissioner and Chairman Bayless mentioned, one of them was a combat veteran with 2 tours in Iraq who came back and opened up a store. Now, I'm still in favor of granting competition.
All set? A call for a vote. I'll make a motion to deny.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed?
No.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we thank you for your time, and you may see us in the future. We hope to see you in the future.
Okay. Does Danny have... Does he have the right to appeal this to Boston?
Yes, you may.
There you go. Okay. Okay. Next on the agenda.
Commission will now open a hearing on the transfer of the all-alcoholic beverages club license from the Pulaski Political Club, Inc., Robert S. Jezik as treasurer, to the corporation known as Lowell Sports Club, Inc., Manuel A. Silva, president, for premises at 490 Central Street, 2 unnumbered doors and bulkhead. First floor, 2 rooms for club, 1 room for storage. Second floor, 1 room for club, 1 room for storage. Cellar for storage. It is requested that Manuel A. Silva be approved as manager of record for Lowell Sports Club, Inc. Lowell Sports Club, Inc. has filed the following minor license applications for common vitler, entertainment at a licensed restaurant, and automatic amusement device.
Introduce yourself for the record, please.
Good afternoon, members of the board. Attorney John Mello for Lowell Sports Club, Inc.
Okay. I'm going to put on the record, I'm going to recuse myself in this matter because I have an appearance of a conflict, and as long as there are sufficient commissioners who could hear the matter, I'm going to step down. And I only do that because we have an ongoing matter where Mr. Mello's client was a witness in favor of my client. The case is still open. We still have another trial date to go back to, and I don't want there to be any appearance of impropriety. So with that, I'm going to step down.
Okay. Introduce yourself, please.
Manuel Silva.
All right.
What we're seeking is a transfer of alcoholic beverages from a nonprofit, the Pulaski Club, to Lowell Sports Club, Inc., another nonprofit. The purpose of the club is to help promote and facilitate sports activities in the community. I think that we all can agree that sport activities and events are an important part of American culture. In the neighborhood, there are 2 other successful sports clubs, and we would like to join their ranks.
Okay. Do we do a check?
Mr. Commissioner, due to the nature of this application, my suggestion would be that we go into executive session.
Okay. Make a motion, we go to executive session?
I'll second it.
Okay, Commissioner Bayless?
Yes.
Commissioner Kajian?
Yes.
Okay.
It's, what time is it? It's 17 minutes of, we'll be back at 10 minutes of.
see what's the lawsuit that I got.
No. I'm involved in a case.
Oh, I thought you were talking about me. No. Say, man, I don't remember his face.
My client is testifying for his client. Backing up the case.
Yeah, I knew this was the same thing they did to me last time before. Yeah. I went to the coroner and everything, but what I was saying, my license was clean. But
Motion to
Reconvene.
reconvene. That's the word.
second,
Seconded. All in favor?
Commissioner Bayless?
Yes.
Commissioner Casey?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Not bad. Okay. Okay, Manny, I noticed on this here, on the license, that you would like to get an entertainment and restaurant. Like, we don't normally grant those to clubs, because you're a private club. You're not gonna be open to the public.
okay,
Now,
but I
we-
still can cook there.
Huh?
I can get a villager's license to have food there for my members and stuff.
For the
right?
people,
Yeah.
for the members, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Just for purposes of the record, Mr. Chairman, and for the applicant's sake, club licensees are nonprofit organizations, Chapter 180
Right.
organizations. There's nothing in regard to the application for alcohol beverages that compels a club licensee to be serving food. A common vitler is for the public. That's the nature of the license by definition by state law under Chapter 140 of the General Laws of Massachusetts. Whether the licensee, should it be the Lowell Sports Club, Inc., provides food service for the members and their guests, does not fall under the license for common vitler. It's not, typically that's not a license that goes in hand in glove like you would have a restaurant liquor license, like Cobblestones, let's say, for example. Entertainment is certainly, a club may offer some entertainment for its members and their guests. It doesn't require a public amusement type license. The nature of the entertainment license, which application was filed, would pertain to a public place, bar, restaurant, if you will.
Okay. You follow that? You can have, you can, you know, just for him.
I agree with all
And,
of it.
and you need to know that, you know, you need to know that this is membership only. A sign book, people come in, they've got to sign in their guest. There's, you know, this is, the state's really clamping down on, now you're going to have a membership. Are they going to have a vote on anything, or?
If I can address the board on that, they are. The initial membership is going to be drawn from the members of the Pulaski Club as it is now. If the board does approve this transfer, then a meeting will be held of members, and they will vote on directors, president, vice president, on all club business at that time.
Okay. All right. You have automatic amusement devices. What are you going to have in there?
I believe in there, there is a poker table, no, I'm sorry, a billiard table, and there are 3 poker machines?
I believe they don't have the poker machines right at this moment. They have other machines that are in there. And they also have a pool table, jukebox.
Okay, but
Darts.
they don't have any poker machines.
They have them there, but they do not use them.
Okay. They have them, but they don't use them. Who do they belong to?
I believe they belong to the club. But as the club is getting sold, the manager that's running it, he does not want to use poker machines till he out of the club.
Say that again, I'm sorry. I want to be sure on what you're doing here. You're
I
not
believe
going
they have them, but I don't think they're using them.
Okay. And it's the new man, is when you buy the
When I
club?
take it, I'm gonna put back the machines.
No.
No,
No,
okay.
the poker machines don't go with the club.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
'Cause that was something that this board passed a long time ago. Once the veterans organizations and the various clubs that do have them, that's.
Okay,
They
that's
go, they
fine
go.
then.
That's it,
That's fine.
okay. Okay, so we won't get into that.
Okay.
But as far as it would be your responsibility, of course, we license it by machine on the club?
Mr. Chairman, typically a coin-operated device is a public amusement.
Yep.
Automatic amusement device has to be approved through the Division of Standards.
Yep.
It's a boss state agency, and the sole purpose for the approval by the Division of Standards is to ensure that the machine functions in the manner in which it's intended. So if you insert a coin, a certain type of game is offered to be played by the individual. That's all they're approving. The local licensing boards, cities and towns, do grant licenses for automatic amusement device based on the machine being a video machine, pinball machine,
There's a fee for
coin-operated
it,
pool
isn't there?
table. I'm sorry?
They pay a fee for that, don't they?
There's an annual fee of $100 per machine.
Per machine, okay.
For each device.
Right, so I don't know whether they own the machines, or whether they own the pool table, but if you decide to do that,
Sure.
you're gonna have to bring the
Well,
serial
I've applied
numbers
for
and
a lot
stuff
of
like that,
machines
okay?
over my time.
Okay, well, I'm sure you have, but I want to be sure that you understand that, we ran into a rash of clubs wanting to start auxiliaries. There's some of the clubs are hurting, and so they've decided that if they maybe were an all-male club, they were going to start an auxiliary to supplement their bar or to allow people to come in and smoke. And the state is frowning upon that. There's no such thing as an auxiliary member. There's no such thing as a social member. There's a member and a member only, and the person has to be a member. So I'm sure you've done this before, but I just want to be sure that you understand that the state's starting to really clamp down on the club licenses, and not just club license, but veterans and fraternal organizations. They're looking at them and saying, you can't have this thing open just as a bar, okay? So as long as you understand that.
understand that.
You have any questions?
Yeah, my first question is, in your application to the Secretary of the Commonwealth, you say that the Lowell Sports Club, Inc. is going to promote, foster, encourage, and facilitate athletic exercise and sports activities.
Correct.
What athletic exercise and sports activities are going to be facilitated by the Lowell Sports Club?
Lowell Sports Club intends on sponsoring and creating intramural sports leagues. Also, holding fundraisers for, let's say, Little League, or promotion of Golden Gloves, creating a place for its members to come for sporting events. So it's going to be a sports club in the truest sense, much like the two sports clubs in that neighborhood already, where they have soccer teams and stuff like that. And we're going to draw from the members, draw from the youth, and promote that for the community.
And how do you become a member? I don't see any bylaws that address membership, and I believe that may have to be filed with the application. I haven't seen it, though.
The Lowell Sports Club, Inc. is a nonprofit that has been organized with the Secretary of State's office. The bylaws are in the process. They will be created. We have to, everything right now is preliminary until we know whether or not we can move forward on this. If the board allows us to move forward and allows a transfer of license, the meeting of members will become immediate. Now, again, the initial pool of membership will be the members from the Pulaski Club overflowing to the Lowell Sports Club. And then from there, they grow. As far as membership approval, members bring in outside individuals who would then be voted on by the board or at a meeting, and then they would become official members.
How many members does the Lowell Sports Club plan on having?
If things go well, as many members as we can. I mean, not to exceed, obviously, the capacity of the club itself. But, as far as how many members it could have, we hope to have several hundred members.
Well, no, it says that the occupancy capacity is 186.
Correct.
So say you have 500 members and 400 show up on one day. Who's going to turn them down?
Well, the manager on the premises and the people working on the premises will have to keep the club at its capacity. As with many clubs have several hundred or several thousand members, but the amount of members at any one time at the actual premises, we don't expect that to be a problem. The Pulaski Club is a pretty big place, and 180 people is a lot of people. Unless when we're sponsoring events and things of that nature, we're going to have to keep the club to capacity.
But let me just understand this. There's no bylaws that have been written up yet.
I have with me sample bylaws that I have started creating for the nonprofit.
But there's nothing that's been executed by any
Correct,
board of
because,
member of the board of directors.
correct, because there hasn't been appointed a board of directors yet. And those board of directors, we're going to, the bylaws that I've started are a generic set of bylaws for a nonprofit. Once the members meet, once they elect their officers, elect the board of directors, they're going to be very specific laws to this club. So it's very difficult to create, without the help of the actual members of the club, exactly what the bylaws are going to entail.
Well, this is my concern, is that if, sorry to interrupt, is that what you filed with the Secretary of Commonwealth, you have president, treasurer, clerk, everybody's Mr. Silva.
Correct.
So it appears to me that this is kind of, he's just gonna run his own club and
Not
there's
at all.
gonna-
Not at all.
Well, where are the bylaws that show how he's gonna give up his presidency
The
or
bu-
his treasurer or his clerkship?
Okay. He was appointed an officer for every single seat in this nonprofit until things were underway. If the board allows the transfer to go forward, a meeting of the members is going to happen immediately. A board of directors is going to be appointed. The Secretary of State's office will be updated immediately with those names and addresses, and the officers are going to be immediately appointed.
But I don't see it laid out in any bylaws, so you could be telling me this, and we approve the transfer, and then none of this occurs, because there's no bylaws to fall back on.
Well, it's kind of,
You know, I'm just saying, one of the points is that normally when they bring in something like this, we know the names of all the people, we have the backgrounds checked.
okay.
You know, I know, I think I know what you're saying, but, you know, I'm kind of like President Nixon. I thought I knew what you said, but I didn't.
Okay.
And the problem here is that Manny, have you actually bought the property?
Not yet.
No. You have a buy and sell type idea? or-
There's a purchase and sales agreement,
Purchase
correct?
and sale,
Yeah.
okay, same.
And it's contingent upon the board's decision, because this property is being purchased to create and
Yeah,
foster.
but that's and I think what Commissioner Occasion's saying is, you're saying to us, take this on faith that we're gonna create this for you after you give it to us. But after you give it, if we give it to you, you got the license, you're off and running. There's nothing we can do after that to rectify, you know, I mean, you're talking about getting people joining a club, and yet you're not telling them what the responsibilities of belonging to that, or what they have to do. You haven't got any guidelines as to, the dues are gonna be so much money, we're gonna expect, you know, this is what the club is focused on or something. You know, different clubs have different endeavors.
Correct.
Which, you know, youth sports is a great endeavor. I mean, there's absolutely, you know, wonderful, you know, but are they gonna be required to give so much, you know, what am I doing? My mic's off, sorry about that. But what are you gonna do? You're gonna give, so many years, if you wanna become a member, you gotta give, you know, 25 hours of volunteer time, in some youth project. I don't know, and that's where I think,
Well, and my concern is that I'm an attorney, and I handle a lot of these in corporations and whatnot, and I've never done one without bylaws. And you read Article 4 of the Articles of Organization for the Lowell Sports Club, Inc. that was filed with the Secretary of Commonwealth. And Article 4 says, other lawful provisions, if any, for the conduct and regulation of the business and affairs of the corporation, for its voluntary dissolution, or for limiting, defining, or regulating the powers of the corporation, or its directors or members, or any class of members, are as follows. And it just says none. There's,
I'm very, very aware of what it says.
Yeah.
If the Lowell Sports Club is given a place to exist, okay, then all the blanks are going to be filled in. It's very difficult to create a set of bylaws that the members haven't voted on. It's very difficult to gather a membership to a club that only exists on paper at this point.
Yeah, but you just said you have the other club.
Right.
Have you approached any of the other members to say, would you serve as my treasurer? Would you serve as the clerk? Would you serve, would they be willing to, I mean, it's, you were here earlier and you probably saw us at the beginning when we granted a one-day license. A one-day license, we're very concerned about the people putting their name on the line because they're actually taking the responsibility for that organization, okay? Much like you have a corporation and people put their name on the line. They say, well, I'm the president. It isn't like, years ago it looked wonderful in your obituary. Today, you can be held responsible for it. Today, if there's something goes wrong, they go right down the line and they start with, well, who's the supreme commander and the sub-supreme commander and we're going to sue every one of them. And so, therefore, you can go right around the city of Lowell and you can see many organizations that are struggling to get people to take positions of authority because of the liability that the courts has, assigned to that today. They don't allow you just to be, well, I was just the treasurer. I didn't know that they were going to sell to minors and the kid, you're responsible, trust me. So all I'm trying to say here, and I didn't look at it that way, but I'm sincerely appreciative that Commissioner Occasion brought that up. I mean, you're talking about a hypothetical. You're talking about something that's up here in the sky, whereas I think if I was going out with a game plan and going to start a business or a sports association or something of that nature, I would probably try to line up some key people and say, this is what I'd like to do. Manny's a businessman. He's been in business before, so he'd say, well, I got the money to finance this thing, but I need the people with expertise, somebody who's been involved in youth hockey and somebody been involved in soccer, or somebody been involved in baseball. Those are the type of people that can bring you, the goals that I guess from what you're saying that you're going to try to reach. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I think that,
I'm going to make a motion that we vote to disapprove the transfer.
Go ahead, man.
Why don't you give me the opportunity to get that and come back?
I could very easily submit to the board a proposed set of bylaws that can then be changed by members. Or I can submit to the board a set of bylaws, and then when the members meet or when the board of directors meet, they can...
I can't see why you can't, I don't want to second his motion, but I got to tell you, I can't see why you can't meet with the members and line these people up in advance so that we know where you're going with this and who the key people will be, and come in here with an application that's complete, and we don't have to take this stuff on face value. I'm sorry, but that's just the way I feel about it.
When I spoke to Mr. Silva, he stated that he had reached out to the members of the existing club and that there was great interest in this club.
Well, then if there is, why aren't they there? Because, number one is, all right, let's stop for 1 second, all right? Let's stop. This is a public hearing. I'm going to ask you to step aside for a minute, if you would, please. Okay, I'm going to say, anybody here to speak in opposition? In opposition to the club transfer license. Anybody in opposition? Okay. Anybody here to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? Where are they? You got one? Okay. Don't put it up at the last minute. Come up to the stand.
I'm going to withdraw my motion until we hear the...
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, you want to speak in favor of it? Yes. Come up here and introduce yourself.
My name is Robert Jezik. I am the president of the Pulaski Club.
You're the president now?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. 2 points of information that I would like to make, and Mr. Nguyen can probably back up. I can see Manny's point by not having a board of directors all established is because this is all dead in the water unless the transfer gets approved, first of all. The building will not be sold, the club will not, nothing will happen unless he gets approval for the license, first of all. And second of all, I believe we have, by March 31st of the new coming year, where you have to submit board of directors, not only to the state, but to the city, but also to the ABC in Boston. So I think Mr. Silver's position is, unless he gets approval of the transfer of the license, then this whole deal is dead in the water. And that's the point I just want to make.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir?
Hi, my name is Jake Jarrett. I'm on the board of directors at the Dompolsky over in Centerville. I concur with what Mr. Jezik just said. I think if they could get themselves an established board of directors and draft up a plan, and then bring it in at a later date and submit it to you folks, and then you could go from there with the plan.
I don't want to approve it today, though.
Oh, okay. Now, see, okay, that all you got to say? I mean, and here again, I appreciate you guys coming, but, you know, obviously you're interested at your club. I mean, you know, I'm wondering how many members have you got?
With the Dompolsky, over 300.
Over 300. You two are the only two that show.
Asked about the Pulaski Club.
Yeah, that's a different.
Well, I mean, I've done Polsky, Pulaski Club.
We have under 50 members.
Under 50.
Under 50. Okay? Take it, then I'll give him a chance to. Will you? Yeah. Okay. All right, I'm going to give a substitute motion for a continuation. I'm going to tell you right now, if you don't, just so you get it right up front, okay? You got to come in with the name of the board, the names of the directors, who they're going to be.
Yep.
You go back to the club, you find out who you're going to put in there. You talk to them. They're smart enough to know that this stuff has to be in place ahead of time. We can't do this on faith, okay?
Okay.
Like, we continue it till the end of this. We're really booked. What do you want to do? Give me a date.
Well, first of all, I think there may be some reason to believe that this whole matter should be amended. The application should be amended.
Okay.
All right, I think that's part of something that you've been discussing at this point in time.
Yeah.
Certainly, if that should be the case, an amended application, does it warrant a new public hearing, new public notice under the circumstances?
What's the law say?
Well, I don't think there's anything directly on point, but I would suggest, in the interest of, you know, covering all our bases, it makes sense to repost a public notice if there's going to be an amended application, especially if the application is going to include new board of directors and any sort of bylaws. I think you need to
Okay.
repost it.
All right.
So
Amend it.
if I may, just
Yeah, go ahead.
to finish up on my comments, in terms of should it be a new legal notice published
Yes.
for a public hearing, the earliest that could take place would be, is spoken of earlier on another matter unrelated to this application, but another application. December 18th would be the earliest for a new public hearing. Should a application be filed in a timely manner so that we can meet the deadlines for publication, the local newspaper, anticipating that be the case, publication date could be conceivably for December the 5th of the legal notice for hearing on December 18th, should the board so act.
Yeah, I want to see the bylaws, though, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
You understand what we're talking about? Do you have any questions?
No questions at all.
You want to see the directives, the bylaws, an amended application? You supply to the secretary necessary, the check or whatever you need to do so he can publish it.
Yep.
If you get that stuff to him in a timely manner, we'll get it published for the 4th and have the hearing on the 14th.
Right, and in terms of dealing with Attorney Mello and his office, certainly they know the prerequisites of dealing with this type of
Okay.
application, so.
Good enough.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank
motion
you.
made.
Seconded.
All in favor, say yes.
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 Walter,
Okay.
happy Thanksgiving. It's a happy Thanksgiving.
Oh. Okay. Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute recess, folks, sorry. Benjamin's going to be wondering what happened to me. Well, I'm thinking of it. And I think Okay, thank you for your indulgence. Next on the agenda.
Now the commission will take up the matter of a hearing on a report from Kenneth E. LaValle, Superintendent of Police, dated October 22nd, 2008, citing problems in the area of Lakeview Avenue and Coburn Street, allegedly caused by patrons of Puff Inc., also known as C's Spot Bar and Grill. Claude Shellett is the manager of record, the all-alcoholic beverage restaurant licensee at 171 Lakeview Avenue. The Greater Lowell Polish National Home Association, Inc., also known as the Dompolsky, Karen Finch is the manager of record. All-alcoholic beverage club licensee at 10 Coburn Street has filed a memorandum dated October 6, 2008, outlining disturbances that have occurred. We also have under communications a communication from Anne Marie Page of the Centerville Neighborhood Action Group, citing neighborhoods neighbors' complaint about C Spot Bar and Grill. Mr. Chairman, at our last meeting on November the 6th, in review of Superintendent LaValle's communication, it did not differentiate between, as to whether one licensee or the other was responsible.
Okay, and we sent out a letter asking them both to come in, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and would you folks be kind enough to introduce yourself?
Claude Charlotte, manager of C-Spot Bar and Grill.
Martin Flax, attorney for Claude Charlotte and C-Spot Bar and Grill.
Okay, and is there anybody here from the, yes, if you, maybe, I don't know, do you guys want to step to the side? We'll put a little wall up between you or whatever.
Karen
Hi.
Finch, manager of the Don Polsky.
I'm sorry, say again, ma'am.
Karen Finch, manager of the Greater Lowell Polish National Homes.
Okay, and your name, sir?
Yes, Jake Jarrett, Board of Directors, Don Polsky.
Okay.
Would it be easier if I just sat him in 4 chairs right there?
What? You know, I don't know if they can do that with the camera or not. We need to find that out with the new, if they can be seated down here. That's what we were just talking about. Ray, he was concerned they've been standing.
Suggesting with the crowd, it might be, easier if everybody was.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, let's start with you folks. You were first at bat. Tell us your story.
Well,
Yeah, no, get up to the mic. We want to hear this. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
TV says yes, they can.
Yeah.
He does?
He just
Oh,
came out
okay.
and told us.
All right. Karen and that gentleman come over. If you take the far 2 seats, please.
And you guys can
And
come
you
and
two
take these two.
gentlemen can take the 2 seats here, and just take that stuff that's on the desk and put it on the floor. It's Crime Stoppers. Okay? Pull the mic down. Here's our director of the show, fixing the speakers, and we're gonna, this way here, they can't swing too violently. You know what I mean? Good. All right. While you're doing that, sir, I think Captain Webb did, I think I had asked you at the time if you could give me an update as to how many times the police have had to go to either club or respond to the area.
As far as calls for police service, at the C-Spot, in recent months, there have been 2 calls. I believe it was in last August, and it was on the same night. Those were the only 2 calls right to the club itself. And I don't have the figures in front of me, but I'm not aware of any calls to the Don Polsky.
Okay, and as far as like without trying to determine, because, you know, that's what everybody wants, the police, they want you to cut people in half, you know. We don't want you to do that. But as far as like the parking lot, have you had to respond to the parking lot?
I don't have any figures for any calls to the parking lot itself.
Okay.
We do have stories we have heard about problems in the parking lot. As far as police response to those problems, I can't tell you that we've been there.
Okay, thank you.
And
Okay.
before we start, let me just get some background. What is the parking lot? Or maybe somebody can tell me about this parking lot. Who owns the parking lot? Is it a private parking lot? Is it a public parking area? Are there reserved spaces? I want to hear some background on it.
Okay. Make sure the mic's on.
If you got the green light? Okay.
That we're referring to.
Okay, it belongs to the Don Polsky Club.
Yes, it does.
Okay, and is their property abut your parking lot?
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
No,
Okay.
as a matter of fact, their building is, the parking lot, their building, and then C-Spot across the street. So their building is between the parking lot and
Is your
C-Spot.
parking lot fenced in?
No, it's not.
No, it's not. Okay. All right.
On Martin Flax, again, I'm representing Mr. Charlotte and C-Spot. Let me just say that Mr. Charlotte takes these issues very seriously. He's very approachable, and feels a little bit taken aback that not all these problems were brought to his attention directly. As a matter of fact, this petition that we just saw today, he got a letter from Police Chief LaValle, but he never spoke to Police Chief LaValle. He had one conversation with the manager from Don Polsky. He thought that they had worked things out, Let me just tell you about Mr. Charlotte. You know, he came here a few years ago to buy the bar, and he's been working his tail off, and he's invested his time, his money, his energy. He's trying to build the restaurant and the bar up. He has a license which allows his bar to stay open till 2 a.m. Don Polsky has a license, I believe, their functions close at midnight. What he tells me, now this may not be all the time, but sometimes people come from Don Polsky at a function, they park their car, then they walk across the street to his bar. Same people. So he's concerned that blaming his customers for all these problems may not necessarily always be true. Sometimes they're Don Polsky's customers, or sometimes they're Don Polsky's customers who have walked across the street. In any event, he's advised the people, he has 2 door people at the restaurant bar. He's advised them to tell people as they walk in not to park in the Don Polsky parking lot. He's doing everything he can. He knows there's been some issues, things that have happened outside the bar, but like one police officer told them that at closing time, when they go out on the street, the police have to deal with them. You know, that's what the police officer told him.
Whoever the police officer was told him wrong.
Okay, but
just because his clients go out on the street,
all right,
if they've been drinking in his place and they cause a disturbance in the neighborhood, he's going to be held responsible for that. If they say I was drinking in, I mean, it's that simple. That's crazy talk.
Okay, but in any event, he takes that. He does. I mean, he has employees in the bar, and they look after their customers, and they try to make sure that nothing like that happens.
Okay.
But in any event, he's doing his best, and he's very approachable, and if there's a problem, he'll work with them. He'll work with Don Polsky. He'll work with the police. He doesn't want any problems like this.
Okay. Tell us your side.
Excuse me. There's been a lot of activity over the past year that really got us to this point that we're at right now. A lot of it had to do with litter in our parking lot, beer bottles. They're not coming out of the Don Polsky. They're coming out of C-Spot. Litter in Lakeview Avenue, litter in our parking lot, litter in the front of our building on Coleman Street.
You know, sir, I tell you right now, okay, very, very nice, very well-run restaurant in the city of Lowell. I'm not going to name it because I don't want to embarrass them. Okay, I can take you there on Saturday morning or Sunday morning, and there are beer bottles all over the parking lot. I stopped in one day. I said to the people, you should clean those beer bottles up because, you're going to get yourself in trouble. The girl, the young lady, excuse me for being politically incorrect, but the young lady I spoke to was very defensive and said, those aren't our beer bottles. We don't even sell that brand. And I said, you know what? The Alcoholic Beverage Commission doesn't care. That's your parking lot. People pull up in your parking lot. I'm not saying it's people just at the Don Polsky or anything, but the people pull up in your parking lot, they whack down a couple of beers, they put the bottle on the ground, and they drive away and leave it. So, I don't want to say it's just that. Let me ask a question. Do you work in the evening, Mayor?
Sometimes I do,
You
yes.
do? Have you ever met this gentleman?
Yes, I have.
You and he have to call the police to break it up, or
No.
do you talk?
No.
You do,
Yes,
you
we do
talk. He's
talk,
got a
yes.
smile on your face, so he can't be the worst guy in the world.
You have no problem at all.
Okay, right, all right. Do you have signs up in your parking lot, cars will be towed?
Yes.
Yes, we have
You do?
12 of them. We have 12 signs posted.
Do you give your membership a sticker, so he can put a sticker on the inside of their windshield so that somebody in your establishment can go out and walk around your parking lot and say, that car doesn't belong here?
Yes,
Tell
we
it.
do. We put them on the cars. We just started recently doing that.
And
after
if the cars
invest-
aren't supposed to be there, are you having them towed? Because I'll tell you right now, the fastest way to
Yes,
put
we
an
did
end to
start
illegal
towing
parking
We did
is
start
to
towing.
start towing and impounding the cars. I mean, they're gone.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll never do it twice because the fees to get your car back are,
Once we started towing, they have stopped parking there.
Okay.
all right.
And going back to the litter in the neighborhood, I've got
That-
pictures
that-
right here in a folder of beer bottles that I took. I took pictures of right on Coleman Street in front of our building, which nobody exits the front. Everybody goes out into the parking lot. And they're half pints, they're nip bottles. They're littering from Lakeview Avenue down to the corner of our
But,
building on Coleman Street.
First of all, I might just make a real easy suggestion here, okay? And that is that you and he get together, and on the even days, you pick up all the junk, and on the odd days, he sends somebody out to pick up all the junk. And he picks up your parking lot, and you pick up the sidewalk, and that takes care of it. You know, the two of you sitting here like children worrying about who bought that bottle of beer. You know what? You ought to be thankful you got customers, let alone, I mean, not being, people are natural-born slobs. Excuse my expression, but they're natural-born slobs. And if they got a bottle in their hand, and they enter, and I'm sure that this young lady can tell you, she probably has to clean up in the bar at night after people, that they just, it's unfortunate, but that's just a reality. But I mean, if I'm sitting there and I've got a business, and I'm going to allow Mary Ann to speak in a second, because I've had a number of people in the neighborhood that, you know, they're upset about this, and this is affecting their quality of life. You've got a business, you've got a membership, you've got a club license, okay? You've got a club license. He's got a taxpayer license, okay? He's got a taxpayer license. He's trying to earn a living. And the two of you should be able to coexist. You're adults. Somebody gets up in the morning, one guy goes out with one of the little wheelbarrows and picks up all the beer bottles and gets rid of them, and the next day the other guy, odd even, whatever you want to call it. All of a sudden, isn't life beautiful? We're not yelling at each other. But I would say to you that I think that Commissioner Weicker is absolutely correct. Tow the cars, you only got to tow them once or twice. It's so expensive today. I mean, to get you between, I think there's a tow, and what does it cost for a tow now, Captain? $95 for a tow.
And a storage fee.
You're not gonna buy too many beers if you're spending $95 to get rid of your car, okay? Enough said.
I'm
Introduce
sorry,
yourself, please.
Commissioner, the only reason I'm here, I do have an appointment.
Oh,
and
I'm sorry.
I appreciate your time. My name is Anne Marie Page, and I'm the president of the Centerville Neighborhood Action Group. This was initiated because on our meeting in October, the superintendent of police was sitting in with many councilors and the mayor as we sat with many neighbors and discussed all the many complaints against this establishment. Now, we haven't had complaints against Dompolsky. They keep their property clean, neat. We haven't had any calls or any complaints. We've had many complaints, and at every meeting, we do encourage the neighbors to call the police. Some of them are elderly, they're afraid. Sure. They're afraid they have to give their name, that they have to give their number. They don't have to. The police, we explain it to them. Just call and report what you're seeing, what's going on. The complaints are in the letter that was listed. I believe I sent a letter from the neighborhood group, and we attached it with the listing that came in from other neighbors on the Dompolsky list. And again, this past Monday night, there was a petition put together, and that has been passed in. So as you said, Commissioner, the exact words in this conversation are, that establishment is interfering with the quality of life in the neighborhood of Centerville. And I appreciate your time, gentlemen. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. And the eyes of the neighborhood are upon you. I'm not saying that, we've got people coming in saying it's happening from your bar. Have you got video cameras outside?
I do have, but they're not on. Because
Well,
I
I
only
think,
use them,
maybe it's
I only
about-
use them inside the bar.
I would say, look, I mean, I've had enough experience with seeing people who go to clubs and they don't want to spend the $3 or $4 a beer inside the door when they can go and pick up a six-pack for $6, drink it, dump the bottles, because they're not going to drive around. Nobody's dumb enough to drive around, hopefully, with beer bottles in their car. And then what happens is they get drunk, and they show up at the club to dance or meet people, and they don't want to spend money at the bars. And that's probably what you're seeing a lot of in that neighborhood.
That's what
All
you're
right?
seeing, absolutely.
I know,
And we
I'm sure
stop
that
them
if...
from coming in.
But I
We
will tell you
search
this,
them.
though, that, if the police department comes in and tells me that, they're seeing people coming out of your clubs carrying beer bottles, either club, I don't care. I mean, I'll be the first one to sit here and say, well, if you're letting people walk off the premises with alcohol, you don't keep a license. That's, the way I would look at it.
Absolutely.
So, and if you're telling me that there's nips, I mean, I don't know too many bars who serve nip-sized beer.
No, they're bringing them in from outside, and it was, over the past year, because I do all the litter patrol at the Dompolsky. I'm out there every Saturday and every Sunday morning and Monday morning, and I'll tell you what, I could venture to say I've picked up at least 5 cases of bar bottles that were tucked in our bushes or thrown on our front lawn or lined Coleman Street, which we don't exit Coleman Street from, we exit in our parking lot, and there's been at least 5 cases. I've got bags in the corner right now with me that I've picked up within the past couple of weeks that are they're bar bottles and they're nips and everything else that are coming from the establishment across the street that people drinking and littering Coleman Street with.
You don't sell nips, do you?
I do not. I can invite you to my place right now. There's no nips, no cane. A cops I came in the place one time and asked me, do I sell cane? So I invite him to come in. I said, look, sir, come to my cooler, go to my back cooler. We do not sell cane at all.
You don't sell any canned beer?
Absolutely not.
And you don't sell any
bottles.
nips?
No nips.
Yeah, well, then that just goes to show what Ray is saying is true.
I'm willing to work with them because it's kind of hard.
Okay.
Because people, just like the license commissioner just said, people don't want to spend money. They come, they get drunk in the parking lot outside, then they drop the bottle on the floor, then they come in.
Right.
And just so you know, Mr. Charlotte lives near the neighborhood himself, and there are a lot of neighborhood patrons that do come to his bar and enjoy it. And
You belong to the neighborhood association?
Yes, no, I'm not.
Why?
But
You're part of the neighborhood.
Yes, I will. After this, I have to because.
Go and talk to them.
Yes, I
Listen to
will.
them. They're your neighbors.
Definitely.
They're not trying to put you out of business. They're
Right.
trying to help you, but
Right.
they're entitled to a life.
Absolutely.
I mean, look, I'll tell you right now.
I've been
I
a
will.
silent observer over here.
Go
I've
ahead.
been taking everything in. Do you let people take beer bottles out of your place?
Absolutely not.
Do you
It's
let
against my
people-
license.
Do you let people take beer bottles out of your club?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So obviously, they're bringing them in from the outside, and they're putting them outside on your property.
Yes.
Okay? Now, the Don Polsky Club thinks it's your fault, and the Centerville group thinks it's your fault.
Okay.
Okay? So if I were you, I'd make sure every morning, you remember that neighborhood, right? You go out and clean it up, whether it's yours or not.
Thank you very much. I have no problem doing that.
But
Whatever-
just be aware, if it's not clean, and we get another complaint for the police, you're gonna get in trouble.
Yes,
And your license could be suspended or revoked, et cetera.
absolutely.
Okay.
Now, the question is, his business hours are a little different from the club's.
Right. The club closes at midnight, right? No?
Yeah, no, I mean, look,
What's the-
like I said, my experience has
I'd
been,
turn if you have cameras outside and they're already there, I'd get them fixed and use them. And I'd have you'd be amazed, you put a sign up saying, our parking lot is, we have surveillance. You'd be amazed at the number of, am I true?
Oh, you're absolutely
That's why
right.
you never got caught, right?
I read the sign before I decide what to do,
Oh,
absolutely.
all right. Okay. See? See, I'm too old, I go home at night,
Right.
No, but I mean, there's a reason that, you go downtown and you see the crowd swells at 11:30. Why? Well, they've been partying earlier, they just didn't want to spend the money to be at the club, okay? People are coming out for that last hour, that last 2 hours, but they're not there at, 7 or 8. So they're not going out for dinner and staying out there, doing whatever they're doing, they're saving money, they're drinking, they're loading up, and then they come into your establishment drunk, and you know what and the bottom line is, they come in, they have one drink at your place, they get pulled over. The judge's last question is this: where did you have your last drink? They don't care if they had 50 drinks at the Don Polsky. If they had the last one at you, guess whose license gets reported to us for an OUI?
Right.
Yeah, they don't ask. So,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to suggest to this gentleman over here that if he could police his front door a little bit better and make sure that the people ain't walking out with bar bottles, because that's all I've been collecting all summer long is bar bottles. I know what a
Yep.
bar bottle looks like. And they're stucking them in their leather coat pockets or whatever, and they're walking out the door. They swig it down, they set it on the sidewalk or whatever, and then a car comes by or some kid kicks it and it breaks. And I think if he had a little bit better policing program at his front door,
Well,
make sure people don't walk out with that stuff.
Yeah, hopefully he will. Hopefully he'll, I'm gonna make a motion that we just, take this under advisement. There's I don't see any reason to file any complaint, but I think that, both of you have had a serious warning. I think that you need to enforce your parking restrictions. Maybe it's gonna require a bigger sign or something to say, sticker parking only, membership required, or whatever you would do.
So far, so good. It's
And
been
tow 'em.
good.
And
It's been good up to now, since we
was
had
the
that
best
first
I-
episode.
This guy doesn't come up with many good ideas, but that was a good one. I'm
That's
gonna
true.
remember
Not
that
a
one.
lot,
I'm
huh?
writing it down. So
No,
we
we
can
have,
use
we
that
have,
one and
we
a later
have,
one.
we have a dozen signs that are posted
Good.
either
All right.
on our building, the back fence, and
And
the
you know, I
side
mean,
fence.
here again, you're a club, you guys, contribute a lot to the community, veterans-wise and everything. I know you guys, I know the club, I know it well. I don't like to see people, a conflict like this.
No, it's not good.
This is not good. Because the only people that suffer here is the neighbors. They're the only ones suffering. You're fighting with him, he's fighting with you. You're disputing, and the neighbors are sitting back kind of throwing their hands up in the air saying, how do I get out of this? Well, we're telling you how to get out of it, and we're also, I think, saying, don't make us get you out of it.
Yeah.
Get yourselves out of it.
Basically, I'm going to second the motion that you guys kiss and make up, start working together,
Well-
get involved in the community
Wait a minute.
association. Well, yeah, you don't have to actually kiss, but you know what I'm saying. I'm not going to make that a
I think
requirement.
we can
There
work
you
it out.
go.
It's just, he's done a good job up to now. I can't disregard that. The gentleman's worked hard. He's come over and introduced ourselves to the bar managers and the bartenders. And I think if he just keeps up the good work, I think everything will be good in the future.
Great.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Take care.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, motion made and seconded, all in favor, say
Did I give
yes.
it back to
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. I've been waiting for him to kiss.
Did I give it to you, or did I-
Whoa,
did you
wait
have
a
it?
minute.
Did I give you the petition? We're gonna give it back to him.
But people do.
Ah, there it is. Oh.
Commissioner Weicker, Commissioner Occasion. Commissioner Bayless has recused himself from the matter of the next item on the agenda. Commission will now proceed with the hearing on allegations of misconduct continued from September 18, 2008, as charged by Kenneth E. LaValle, Superintendent of Police, against Tyler Perry Corp., doing business as the Dubliner, 197 Market Street. Laureen Lucier is manager of record, the all-alcoholic beverage restaurant licensee. The allegations of misconduct are from the incident of July 24, 2008.
Please, for the record, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Talty, and I represent Tyler Perry, Inc. and Mr. Thomas Economo and Laureen Lucier. Just as a point of order before we start, there are two matters being addressed by the Commission this evening. The second, we have 8 witnesses present for. At the Commission's discretion, we could take those matters out of order.
Why don't we do the second one first, then that
you.
way it'll free up the witnesses.
We'll ask the
Thank you.
law department has a.
Oh, wait.
Respectfully to my brother, I would suggest that it would be more appropriate to take them in order, given that the results of the first incident may have a bearing on the second incident as to whether or not they've already been found responsible for multiple violations. The second incident, in theory, could be the third incident during the summer. And therefore, unless my brother wants to stipulate that it's the third incident, and we can take it with...
I mean, chronologically.
Right.
Yes, okay.
But with all due respect to Commission, whatever you believe is appropriate.
Well, let's go ahead and we'll hear the second one first then, all right?
Thank you.
Free up the witnesses.
Okay, if I may. Proceeding with the next item on the agenda, to do with the matter of a hearing on allegation of misconduct. Continued from November 6, 2008, as charged by Kenneth E. LaValle, Superintendent of Police, against Tyler Perry Corp., doing business as the Dubliner, 197 Market Street, Lorraine Lucier, Manager of Record, the all-alcoholic beverage restaurant licensee. This allegation is of an incident on October 10, 2008.
All right.
I have no objection in this matter with the allegations being read.
You want the allegations read into the record? Or?
I have no objection.
All right. Okay. Do you want to go ahead and read them into the record? Sure.
Communication dated October 10th, 2008, from the Lowell Police Department, Office of Superintendent of Police, received by the Office of the License Commission, October 10th, 2008. City of Lowell License Commission, 375 Merrimack Street, Lowell, Massachusetts, 01852, regarding Tyler Perry Corporation doing business as the Dubliner, 197 Market Street, Lowell, Mass. Lorraine Lucier, Manager of Record, and Thomas Economo, Corporate Officer. Dear Sirs, the Lowell Police Department respectfully requests that enforcement action be taken against the Dubliner for violations which occurred on 10 October 2008. Based upon the below described circumstances, the Lowell Police Department is alleging that licensee, by or through the actions of its employees, management, and/or agents, did deliver alcoholic beverages to persons during mandatory hours of closure in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 12. The following is a summary of the events which occurred inside the Dubliner on the morning of 10 October 2008. This summary is the narrative portion of the Lowell Police Department Report Number 2008-18640, submitted by Sergeant Thomas Sipes. This and other reports will be made available to the Commission for hearing and discovery on this matter. On 10 October 2008 at 2:48 a.m., Officer J. Finn was assigned to his route downtown when he observed a group of individuals inside the Dubliner at 197 Market Street. Upon closer inspection, from his viewpoint, directly in front of the bar's unobstructed glass storefront, Officer Finn noticed that at least 3 members of the group were consuming alcohol. Officer Finn called me to the scene where I observed a group inside the Dubliner sitting on the left side of the bar and the left side tables. I observed the bar to be well lit inside with the rear bar area lights illuminated and the front table area lights turned off. The front tables, the right side, and front of the bar all appeared clean. I was able to clearly see one male drinking from a brown glass beer bottle at the bar and another male sitting at one of the bar tables on the left side of the bar drinking from a similar bottle. At this time, I knocked on the front door and observed Dubliner manager Jason Keys begin walking toward me and shout, quote, "Everyone put down your beers," unquote. Mr. Keys unlocked the door and allowed me to enter without objection. When I approached the bar, I additionally observed an unattended white plastic cup containing what appeared to be draft beer sitting on the top of the bar. I immediately took account of the number of individuals inside the bar and asked Mr. Keys if all 8 individuals he had inside the bar were employees, to which he stated, quote, "Absolutely," unquote. I asked Mr. Keys for some type of verification in the form of time cards, work schedule, or payroll log, to which he insisted that he had 9 time cards downstairs in the office. I asked Mr. Keys to produce this documentation, and he proceeded downstairs and promptly returned stating, quote, "Actually, I only have 3 time cards," unquote. Mr. Keys produced 3 rectangular cardboard time cards with names, quote, "Chrissy," unquote, "Chris M.," and "Caitlin," handwritten on the tops. All 3 time cards had their, quote, "out," unquote, time punched in blue ink, typesetting Friday, 2:20 a.m. Mr. Keys then began explaining the other 5 individuals' connections to the Dubliner or Dubliner staff. At this time, I instructed Officer Finn to gather all 9 individuals' identifications. The group was cooperative, and all 9 individuals produced identification. One member of the group, Christine 80, inquired, quote, "Do you only do this to the Dubliner," unquote. Mr. Keys intervened, instructing Miss 80 to cooperate. I advised Mr. Keys and Miss 80 that they were not being very discreet in their choice to gather in the well-lit bar area in front large glass windows. I asked Mr. Keys when their recent liquor license commission sanctions had concluded, to which he said, quote, "last night," unquote. I advised him that he did not appear to be taking his liquor license responsibilities very seriously, and that I would be consulting with my superiors about a possible liquor license complaint. Mr. Keys was respectful, apologetic, and cooperative throughout the entire encounter. Officer Finn and I were the only two responding Lowell Police Department units on this date. Officer Finn was instructed to write a report of his observations. Kindly schedule this matter for hearing as soon as possible. Very truly yours, Superintendent Kenneth E. LaValle.
All right. The complaint having been read into the record, do you wish a hearing on the complaint?
Yes.
Okay. We'll start then. We'll call the first witness, which would be now Lieutenant Thomas Seops. Okay.
Hi, Lieutenant Thomas Seops, Lowell Police.
All right. I understand that everything was just read in for the record, but as to what the nature of the complaint was, but can you describe your observations that evening?
Well, actually, that was pretty much my report verbatim. The complaint was based on my report, so everything he just said, I signed as my testimony.
All right. And did you have an opportunity, you said you checked that there were two individuals with bottles in front of them. Did you check the contents of those bottles?
Did I check them actually myself? No, they were beer bottles, clearly marked. I believe I put in my report, or Officer Finn put in his report, what kind of beer. I believe it was Budweiser or Bud Light beer bottles. They were brown glass bottles.
Okay.
Did you, it's a little confusing the way the letter's written because it's signed by Superintendent LaValle, but it's your report, so I'm just, are you the one that heard Mr. Keys say, "Everyone put down your beers"?
Yes, yes I did.
And how did you recognize Mr. Keys?
He was, it's all, the whole storefront is a big glass facade. I mean, there's nothing but glass there.
And you've had prior encounters with Mr. Keys?
Yes, I have.
And, okay, so you identified him?
Yeah, no, I know
known.
he's the manager there.
Okay.
I see him all the time.
Okay, great. And you asked him to produce time cards?
That's correct.
And he produced just 3?
That's correct.
Did he have any excuse for the other 6?
He began to explain why the people were in there. I didn't make note of it. Nothing that was satisfactory to document.
Okay. And you observed on the cards that they were clocked out at 2:20 a.m.?
Yes.
Okay.
Did we identify the individuals, Dwight Sadler and Peter Soils, as having any connection with the facility?
I don't believe so, no. No, they weren't.
Okay.
But you determined that Dwight Sadler was the one that was consuming the beverage in the bottle?
At the time, yeah, there was 2 individuals that we actually confirmed. Like I said, I'll defer to Officer Finn on some of this because
Sure.
it was his initial observation of the 2 people. But yes, at the time, we said the 2 guys drinking, we did identify those, and I believe that's in Officer Finn's report.
And how did you identify them?
We saw where they were sitting. We could see them, like, once again, it was very clear.
Right. But how did you didn't know them by sight, their names. How did you determine the
Oh,
names?
we asked for everyone to produce identification. We ended up getting 8 individuals' identifications, and we documented that in Officer Finn's report, all 9 people that were there.
Okay.
All right. Do you guys have any questions for Lieutenant Seops?
Yes, where should I stand across the This is always weird.
Oh,
I don't want to stand right next to him.
How about, if it would make it easier, why don't we make use of these chairs again? Why don't you and your clients come up and take these 3?
All right.
Okay.
And he can say it.
And,
Officer Seals, that's
well, actually, I was going to say, Officer Seops, you can stay there because we're going to be changing you out with somebody else here in a second. No, it's whatever makes you comfortable, okay?
I was the patrol supervisor for the east sector that evening, yes.
You were not the first officer to arrive at the scene.
No, I wasn't.
It was
Officer John Finn.
Officer John Finn. And the reason that you became aware that you believed there was a problem going on in the Dubliner was because of the communication from Officer Finn?
That's correct.
Now, was he on routine patrol that night?
Yes, he was.
Was he uniformed?
Yes.
And how long was it from the time that you received the report from him until you entered into the bar?
Well, I know I was actually in the shift commander's office at the time, so as long as it takes me to get to the police station on Arcane Drive to the Dubliner, maybe a couple of minutes tops.
4 minutes around the block?
I would say, yeah.
So no more than 5 minutes?
Yeah, I don't think so, yeah, not more than 5.
And do you know whether or not Officer Finn had entered into the establishment by the time you had arrived there?
I don't believe he did. I mean, he was standing outside at the time I arrived.
He was waiting for you on the sidewalk?
Yes, yes.
And was there any particular concern? Oh, thank you.
They're having a hard time picking you up on the mics.
Game show host.
Was there any particular concern that you're aware of that Officer Finn would have had for his safety in not entering himself and waiting for you to arrive?
I don't understand the question.
Well, did you ever, you're aware that Officer Finn was standing on the sidewalk when you arrived, correct?
I don't remember where he was standing when I arrived exactly. I think he was actually...
Well, I think you just testified that he was standing on the sidewalk.
We stood on the sidewalk just before we entered.
He wasn't inside the bar.
No, he was not. No, clearly he wasn't inside the bar.
And did he express to you that there was any particular concern that he had for his safety or any other reason why he couldn't enter into the bar before you arrived there?
No, he didn't.
So your testimony would be that he observed this drinking, correct?
Yes.
And stood outside and allowed it to continue until you arrived?
That's correct. That's correct.
Were you in uniform?
Yes, I was.
No, you were aware that the hours had been rolled back from the Dubliner up until that particular night, correct?
No, I actually had to ask because I wasn't aware of the exact night. But yeah, it was recently because I was part of that as well.
Well, when you both entered inside the Dubliner, didn't you make comments to the
Yes,
effect
yeah,
that
I knew it had been very recent, if
this
not...
is pretty stupid that you're doing this?
Those are your words, Counselor, but yeah.
I mean, isn't it, generally, wasn't that what you were saying to the people who were in the bar?
No. I had asked Mr. Keys, didn't you just get off sanctions, or didn't you just recently have something to the effect of, weren't you just in trouble of some sort?
And you thought it would be a very bad idea for them to be having an after-hours party on the night just after their hour rollback had ended, correct?
I can't speak to that.
And the lights were on, correct?
In the bar area, yes.
All right. So there was no effort to dim the lights, is that correct?
They were on. I don't know if there was an effort to
Did you observe anyone working, anyone cleaning up, anyone moving equipment, anything to that effect?
No, I did not.
That would be consistent with the bar closing at that time?
No.
And you said you got the identifications of 9 people who were there, correct?
At least 8, I believe 9.
And you just testified to the commission that you didn't believe that everyone had a connection to the bar who was in there at the time, correct?
I asked if everyone has a connection.
And they told you that they were,
I said, these are all employees.
And did you even make any attempt beyond checking into the time cards? Did you make any attempt to verify that?
Verify what
They
exactly?
were employees or connected to the bar in some employment capacity?
No, I didn't verify to check that.
Wouldn't that have been relevant as far as to determine whether or not there was any people who were not authorized to be in the bar at that time?
It's not the police department's to determine who can be in a bar at night. It was that they were drinking alcohol, Counselor.
Everyone cooperated and gave you their IDs, correct?
Yes, they were cooperative.
And the two individuals that you mentioned by name, Dwight Sadler and Peter Soils, did you make any effort to determine whether they had any connection to the bar?
I just mentioned them by name, I'm sorry, I didn't mention.
I believe that you did during,
Actually,
or you were
I
asked
believe
about
that
I believe it was the
I believe I
commissioner that
read their
mentioned them
names
by
from the
name.
report.
But yeah, okay.
there was some mention of those names during your
Yeah, there was some mention, yep, does sound familiar.
testimony to the commission.
Yes, yep.
And you didn't make any effort to seize any alcohol that was being consumed?
No.
Did you?
No, we didn't.
Now, isn't it fair to say that it's about 60 feet from the sidewalk to the bar area inside the Dubliner?
Yeah,
Would that be fair?
that sounds right, yep.
The bar is not located right near the sidewalk. There's some distance one would have to walk upon entering the front door in order to get to the bar, correct?
Yes.
Now, were the employees, well, not to reiterate, but I believe you testified that the employees were not cleaning up, that you didn't see any of that type of activity going on?
No.
Did you see any other empty beer bottles or any other empty cups or anything on the bar, on any of the tables?
No, no, just once I had entered, I did see one white cup, as I put in my report, that was red, but I didn't see, no, there weren't cups everywhere, no.
And no one appeared to be intoxicated?
No, no one appeared to be intoxicated.
Nothing further.
If I could have a few moments just to elicit some testimony from the officer.
Go ahead.
I just want to clarify a couple of issues just to follow up. And I realize you're going to be repeating yourself, but from the time Officer Finn called in to the time that you entered the bar, you'd estimated it was 5 minutes or less?
Yeah, about that.
Isn't it true that if not for the intervening buildings, you could actually see the Dubliner from your...
They're very close by,
50
as the
Arcane
crow
Drive?
flies.
And concerning the time cards, and I believe it was read into the report, I just wanted to elicit it again. The time cards actually had the individuals checking out almost a half an hour prior to your entering the location, isn't that correct?
If that's what in my report says, yeah, I believe it was 2:20, those are the time cards, and I was called by Officer Finn at 2:48, so, yes.
So in fact, it was, since you were called by Officer Finn, it was actually probably more than half an hour at the time when you entered the bar, since the time that these individuals had checked out.
Yes.
And again, just to clarify, there's no evidence of any of these individuals doing any kind of work at the time, from the time that you viewed them through the window, and even from the time that you're aware of, that Officer Finn was viewing through the window waiting for you. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you never saw any of them go into a back room or go downstairs during the time that you viewed them?
No.
And no one in the bar suggested that they weren't drinking beer. Isn't that correct? There was no claim that this isn't beer, officer, this is water.
No, there's nothing like that, no, sir.
And there was no claim that they thought that it, that it was not the time that it was. They believed that the bar was still open. There was never any suggestion of that.
There was no suggestion of that.
In fact, Mr. Keys told everybody to put down the beers, and you heard him say that, isn't that correct?
Yes.
And just to clarify, this was in fact the day after the Dubliner got taken off of their hours rollback, isn't that correct?
According to Mr. Keys, yes.
I have no further questions, thank you.
Do you have any further questions based on that?
No.
All right.
Could I say something? My name's Lauren Lucia. I'm the owner-manager of the Dubliner. And as far as the time cards are concerned, we pay our employees till 2 o'clock. So for the time machine to work properly, they have to be checked out. They could be checked out at 2:30. Jason goes down and he puts all their cards in. It could be 2:45 whenever they finish, but they're only paid till 2 o'clock, so that has no bearing as to they weren't finished with their work. It's when he goes downstairs and puts them all in the machine, and they're only paid till 2 o'clock, but they stay after and clean up and everything else, and that's part of their job. But
Mr.
for
Commissioner.
the time clock to work properly, it's
I would just suggest that this is part of the licensee's case, and would be more appropriate.
I would also suggest that you may actually have a Fifth Amendment issue on that. But let's start with Officer Fitton.
Plead the fifth.
Please introduce yourself.
John Finn from Lowell Police Department.
All right, and can you explain your observations that evening and actions?
That evening, I was walking on Market Street. It was approximately 2:48. As I was walking by the Dubliner, I noticed that the lights were on. I stopped, I looked in, I could see approximately 9 people sitting there were some people sitting at the bar, there were a few people sitting to the left of the bar at a table closest to the bathroom. When I took a closer look, I could see one person sitting at the bar drinking out of a bottle. I could see a person to the table to the left closest to the bathroom drinking out of a beer bottle. There was a person behind the bar with a cup in their hand, and he was also drinking. What was in the cup at the time, I didn't know. From the past history that we've had with the Dubliner, I contacted Sergeant Seopes, and I told him what was going on. He told me to wait there. He'd be right down. Within approximately, I'd say, a minute or two, he showed up in front of the bar. He looked, he saw what was going on. He decided we should enter the bar.
What were your observations upon entering?
When we entered the bar, there was still the person sitting at the far table with the beer right in front of him. There was a person sitting at the bar with the beer, and the person that was behind the bar had come from behind the bar, and the cup was just on the bar. Inside the cup, I determined that it was alcohol in the cup.
All right, and what was the time on this?
When I called Lieutenant Seopes, it was 2:48.
All right. Attorney Talty, do you have any questions based on that testimony?
I do. Now, Officer, you stated in your report that you were on routine patrol that night, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you were in uniform, correct?
That's correct.
Were you operating a vehicle or were you on foot?
I do both. I have a vehicle and I'm on foot.
What about that night?
That night, I park the vehicle and I walk, and then I go back to the vehicle.
What car did you park?
I had a black Expedition, I'm sorry.
And is that a police-issued vehicle?
Yes, it is.
And is that an undercover vehicle?
Yes, it is.
And while you're on uniformed routine patrol, do you typically operate an undercover vehicle?
Yes, I do.
Now, when you arrived at the front of the Dubliner, the lights were on, correct?
That's correct.
And again, there's quite a distance between the front of the bar and the bar itself, correct?
There's a distance. I don't know. I don't know the exact distance.
And your observation is that you saw people drinking out of a Bud Light beer bottle from outside of the Dubliner, is that correct?
When I got in, I was able to determine that it was a Bud Light bottle when I looked at it, yes. I could see that it was a brown bottle from outside.
And when you saw this drinking occurring, initially, you didn't enter into the bar alone, did you?
No, absolutely not.
Did you feel that that was not appropriate as a safety precaution?
No, due to the past history that we've had with the Dubliner, and being that it was their first night back open, and the last time we were here, we were accused of going in heavy-handed. I thought I should call a superior officer.
And when you did, you entered and you talked to Mr. Keys, correct?
I didn't speak to anybody other than ask people for their IDs.
All right. Did you hear Officer Seopes talk to Mr. Keys?
I wasn't listening verbatim, but he did talk to him, yes.
All right. When you took everybody's ID, did you ask them each specifically what role they had in being at the bar?
I asked nobody their role there.
Okay. No further questions.
City, have any questions?
I just wanted to clarify just a couple of issues. One, you were on foot patrol, is that correct?
That's correct.
This was your regular patrol, is that correct?
That's correct.
You weren't going out of your way to walk past the Dubliner?
No, I
or
wasn't.
anything? And just to clarify to some earlier testimony, how far would you estimate it was from where you were to the place where Lieutenant Seopes was at the time?
Oh, he was a minute away.
And it took approximately a minute and a half for him to get there?
That's correct.
During that time, were you observing the individuals in the bar?
Yes, I stood right in front of the bar.
Did you see any of the individuals in the bar during the time, from the time you saw them until the time you entered the bar with Lieutenant Syopes, doing anything that resembled cleaning or maintenance of the bar?
No.
Did you see any of the individuals go into a back room or into a basement?
No, everybody was just around the bar.
I have no further questions.
All right.
Is there any, Mr. Commissioner, if I could, I just had one more follow-up question for Officer Syopes, so that'd be okay.
Okay.
Just a follow-up question. On cross-examination, there were some questions concerning your attempts to elicit the individual's connection to the bar. Did it matter to you, their connection to the bar, after you knew that it was 30 minutes after, or almost an hour after closing and they were drinking? Was that something that you felt like you really needed to understand?
The individual that was drinking, no.
In fact, wasn't your purpose in entering the bar to determine whether or not A, they were drinking, and B, that the bar was closed? Isn't that the violation that you were concerned with?
That's why we were there, yes.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Do you have anything based on that?
Who was drinking?
2 males, one at the bar and one at a table.
Of the 9 people there?
I saw 8 people actually at the time, I think, yep.
2 of the 8 people were drinking?
Yes, that I saw, that's right.
And this was after you heard from Officer Finn, correct?
Yes.
Did you actually see them taking a sip of beer, or?
Yes, I did.
Did you see them drinking when you arrived inside the bar?
No.
Or was it when you were out in the street?
When I was standing at the, actually, to explain better, they have a little, it's not enclosed, it's a little front step that's kind of like a stoop. And I was standing there and I could see clearly the two individuals.
And were they standing up or sitting down?
I believe they were standing.
And did you arrest them?
No.
Did it appear that they were standing with a group of other people?
Yes.
Were those people counting their money?
I didn't see anyone counting money.
Nothing further.
Is consuming alcohol an arrestable offense?
Illegally consuming alcohol,
Did you determine that they were illegally consuming alcohol?
No, it would be delivery of alcohol would be the arrestable offense.
Thank you.
All right, do you have anything you'd like to
I have
put on?
several witnesses, and we have statements from each of them. If I could present them to the board and have them in turn give their testimony.
Sure.
Can I approach?
Sure.
One of those individuals is not here, Christine A. All other.
She's here, Christine's here. 80.
Another Christine.
Another Christine.
But just as a note, very quickly, I would just suggest to the commission, these weren't signed under the pains and pills of perjury. There's no authentication. There's not even a notarization. These documents, since they're here to testify, I would just suggest the commission take this for what it's worth.
Let me just ask, please state your name.
Jason Keys.
All right. I have a document in front of me. It's 2 pages long. It appears, or it purports to have your signature and a telephone number below it. Is that
Correct.
your signature?
Correct.
Are the contents of it true?
Absolutely.
And you swear so under the pains and penalties of perjury?
Yes, sir.
All right. What would you like to tell, or counsel, it's your witness?
I'd let Mr. Keys offer a statement.
Read the statement. My name is Jason Keys. I was the manager on duty of the Dubliner. I am 33 years old, and I have been at the Dubliner for 3.5 years. I have many duties and responsibilities as the manager on duty, which I take very seriously. On the night in question, we had just gotten off suspension, which had our hours rolled back from 11 p.m. for 7 consecutive days. During those 7 days, the police were coming by the bar every night to make sure that we were closed on proper time, 11 p.m., which we were. On the night in question, Thursday, October 9th, it was a normal night. We were back to closing at 2 a.m. and performing our closing duties, the same as we had done for the past 3.5 years. Our detail officer, Mr. Carlos Ramirez, made sure everyone that was not a customer of the Dubliner was out of the bar by 2 a.m. And then he left the premises. Once the officer left, we began to clean and resume with our other closing duties. The bartenders wash and clean the bar first. The waitresses clean up the empty bottles from the dining room and the side tables. The door guys bring up the beer from the basement. They load up the beer coolers. Approximately 10 to 15 cases they bring from downstairs to upstairs. Next, the door guys take all the garbage cans out, which is approximately 4, and finally they put the dining room back together. All the tables, the stools, and everything coming from downstairs to upstairs. After the bartenders finish cleaning the bar, they proceed to do their money. Their money includes adding up their checks, making sure their numbers add up to the Z report. By itself, anywhere, it takes from 30 to 45 minutes. Finally, when their money matches up and they count their tips and split them up, once all that's done, I do the payouts for the rest of the employees that do not have time cards. I pay the door guys, I pay the DJ, then I take all the money away. The whole process takes anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. When I'm finished, we all leave together. No one walks out alone. That's what we've done for the past 3.5 years. On Thursday night, I had just come up from downstairs, and we were all ready to leave. It was approximately 2:45 a.m. When I heard a knock on the door, it was the police. As I was letting the police in, I noticed 2 empty beer bottles on the tables. I told my staff to get the bottles off the bar so that they wouldn't think that they were drinking them. As I let Sergeant Seops in, he said, "I can't believe you're doing this." I told him that we were all worked here and that we were just leaving. I showed him 3 time cards for the bartenders and told him that no one else had a time card because they were all paid out. He took everyone's license information. I explained to him that we were just closing up, and he said, you could have turned the lights down. I told him we were doing nothing wrong, and I explained to him our closing duties. Sergeant Seops listened to me and then said he understood what was going on and that he would perhaps put this on file. He told us all to leave right away, as we did. That's my statement.
Law Department have any questions based on that testimony?
On the night in question, how many bartenders did you have working?
3.
And how many other staff did you have working that night?
It was, including myself, it was 9 total.
And it's your testimony that every night, nobody leaves before the last person leaves? All 9 people always walk out at the same time?
It's not always 9 people. That night, we were expecting a busy night since we just came off suspension. Typically, I don't let the women walk by themselves. The door guys will stay around and we'll leave together. The only reason the DJ was there and his helper was to pay out the DJ. I can't pay them out until all the money is done, which, as I stated, it takes 30 to 45 minutes.
And how long from the time you close at 2 o'clock does it generally take to clean the bar, pull out all the empties and?
As I stated, 30 to 45 minutes. Everyone has their job.
Okay, that your statement states, talking about adding up the money takes 30 to 45 minutes, but it's your testimony also that physically cleaning the bar takes 35 to 40 minutes as well?
Between cleaning the bar, between taking the garbage out, between putting the dining room back together, between loading up the beer coolers, yes, 30 to 45 minutes is a good time.
And who's responsible for doing that?
Doing the money would be the bartenders and the waitress. Putting the dining room together would be the doorman. Taking the garbage out would be the door guys. Filling out the beer coolers would be the door guys.
And so it's your testimony that it takes all those people 30 to 45 minutes to finish doing
Absolutely.
what they're doing. So it's highly unlikely that everybody would be finished and sitting around waiting for just you to be finished with your last job, since it takes everybody 30 to 45 minutes to do everything.
I didn't understand the question. Say that one
So
more time.
it's unlikely that that everybody would be finished before that time and just leave you alone to be finishing up your duties, if it takes everybody that long to finish up everything. Isn't that correct?
I still don't really understand the question, but when everyone is done with their job, as I'm helping them achieve to get their job done, then I do my closing duties, and then as I get up to the end of the night, then we take off as a group.
Was it a busy night that night?
Absolutely.
So does that mean there's more work at the end of the night, or less, or just about the same?
Approximately the same. Same process. As I stated, 30 to 45 minutes was a relatively good time.
Okay. So it was a busy night, but your testimony is it still only took you 30 to 45 minutes to clean up.
Approximately 30 to 45 minutes.
I have no further questions.
Or get the Dubliner?
I have no say. I can't.
Well, what's your opinion?
I couldn't answer that. My opinion?
Yeah. It's an easy question, yes or no?
My opinion is that they're out to do their job.
But that's not
do
my
I
question.
think? Do I think?
No,
Sorry.
hold on a second. My question was, are they out to get the Dubliner?
I think we have been unfairly treated.
Okay, thank you.
You have anything else for this witness?
I do. The night that you just testified to, were you having an after-hours party?
Absolutely not.
Was anyone drinking?
Absolutely not.
Was everyone working?
Absolutely.
Were you expecting the police to arrive that night?
No. I was expecting them to come by, as they did every night.
You knew it was the day after your hours had been rolled back, correct?
Yes, I did.
So did you think there was a good chance that the police would come by?
Yes, I did.
Did you think they were coming by to harass you or just to do their job and check up on what was going on as far as you complying with the closing time?
To do their job, as they did every single night. They came by to make sure that we were doing our job.
And you had a detail officer that you paid for and hired to be on the door that night, correct? What was his name?
I believe it was Officer Carlos Ramirez.
And he was there until 2 o'clock in the morning, correct?
Yes.
So as far as having any sort of a gripe or beef, if you will, with the Lowell police, it's quite the contrary. In fact, you hired the Lowell police that night in order to make sure that everybody left at 2 o'clock in the morning, correct?
Absolutely.
And they did, correct?
Absolutely.
Thank
As
you.
they do every night.
Thank you.
I just have one question. I asked you whether you felt you were being unfairly treated by the Lowell Police Department, and you said yes. Then your attorney asked you, and you said no. So are you telling the truth to your attorney, or are you telling the truth to me?
My attorney asked me specifically about the details.
First of all, I'm
the
not
details.
Mr. Key's attorney.
Or
And I
the
don't
attorney
think that
for
was
your
his
employer.
testimony.
The attorney for your employer.
I believe he asked me about the officer on detail, and I have no problems with them at all.
Okay. But you feel the Lowell Police Department as a whole are out to get the
I never stated that
Well,
either.
what did you say to me?
That was not his testimony.
I
Did you
not
say you were
that.
unfairly treated?
I said I felt that we were being unfairly treated.
Okay.
Did I say by the whole police department? No, I did not.
If I could ask just one follow-up question.
Go ahead.
You suggested everyone in the bar was at work that night,
I didn't suggest, I said they were, yes.
and everyone had their job to do and accomplished it prior to the Lowell police getting there. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
How do you explain the fact that two Lowell police officers testified they saw two individuals at your bar drinking?
I can't say that. We haven't drank in 3.5 years after. We're not allowed, and we don't do that. I don't know if they saw them. Maybe they might have thought they saw them. They might have thought they saw them bringing empty bottles out of the bathroom, but drinking them, no.
Now, you testified that right before the police came in, you were downstairs. Is that correct?
No, I wasn't.
I'll read your statement. On Thursday night, I had just come up from downstairs, and we were all ready to leave when I heard a knock on the door. So you had just come up from downstairs, isn't that correct?
Previous to that, right. But I was upstairs when I heard the knock on the door, correct.
Well, let me get this straight. Did you just come up from downstairs, or did you come up 10 minutes before the police came in?
Approximately 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
So it's possible that they were drinking while you were downstairs, isn't that true? You don't know, you weren't there, right?
No, sir.
So your testimony is that you weren't there and don't know whether or not they were drinking when the police officers looked into the window, isn't that correct?
They were not drinking. That is my testimony.
And you know that because you were downstairs how?
I was downstairs, it takes me 2 to 3 minutes.
So it's not possible that somebody was drinking while you were downstairs?
Is it possible? Yes. Did
Okay.
they?
That was just my question. Thank you.
I'm just going to ask the questions. Who are Dwight and Peter?
They are my doormen.
But they're not,
They are.
they're not time card employees? They're,
No, no, sir.
I have nothing else to do.
Nothing further.
I just have one more question as the manager. When you say they're not time card employees, at the end of the year, do you issue them a W-2 or a 1099?
Myself, I don't, I believe that's through the owners.
Do you?
It's
Okay.
through outside help.
All DJs, any entertainment we have.
Okay.
All right. Next witness.
Christine 80.
Mr. Commissioner, if I could just make a request. If it's the licensee's intention to have the individuals just read their statements, perhaps it would be best to just take notice that, I would be willing to take notice that they all swear to their statements and they're willing to read them, and let us just read them silently rather than just to attempt to save the commission's time.
All right. I'm going to actually agree with that. What I'll ask you to do is go ahead and approach the mic. Please state your name for the record.
My name's Christine 80.
All right.
You want me to go ahead and read?
If you're just going to read it, I can read it.
Okay, I was just going to read
If you want to tell me what happened, tell me.
It's pretty much right here, so.
Okay. All right. Counsel, do you have anything else you want from, other than what's written in the statement from the
Did you
witness?
observe the officers come into the bar that night?
I did.
And did any of them speak to you or any of the other employees?
Yes, they spoke to everybody.
All right, and when they spoke to everybody, what did they say?
Pretty much, I can't believe you guys are drinking with the lights on. Pretty much what was read.
And did Detective Finn have a uniform on?
I didn't see him in uniform. It appeared to me that he was wearing some type of sweater and pants. I actually thought it was kind of odd.
Excuse me?
I actually thought it was kind of odd. I didn't know. I just
Thought it was kind of odd? What do you mean
that
by
he
that?
would come in and not in uniform. Personally, just maybe.
And did you observe anyone drinking?
No, I didn't.
What were you doing as far as your cleanup duties were concerned?
Personally, I was counting the money. When they came in, we were all ready to leave. So-
Were you drinking?
No, I was not.
Do you have anything?
One quick question. Did you in fact say to Lieutenant Syobs, do you only do this to the double owner?
Those were not my words.
What were your words?
I pretty much was having a conversation with them, what was going on, I don't understand. I didn't understand why they were coming in. I was a little nervous, to be honest with you. They came in, asked for everybody's IDs. They seemed pretty aggravated.
So, but your testimony is that you did not say, do you only do this to the double owner?
No, my testimony is not, those were not my exact words.
Is it fair to characterize your statements to Lieutenant Syobs that you thought the double owner was being targeted?
I don't understand. Are you asking me if I think that we were being, pretty much what you asked Jason, treated unfairly?
Yes.
No, I did, that was not why I said what I said.
Okay. No further question. Anything else?
Nothing.
Okay, thank you. Next witness.
Christopher Morrissey.
Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name's Christopher Morrissey. I'm bartender at the Dubliner.
Okay, and what do you want to tell us about what happened?
Do you want me to read this?
Well, if you're just going to read the statement, I can read it. If you're going to add anything to it, I'll let counsel ask questions.
Christopher, what is your job at the Dubliner?
I'm the bartender.
How long have you been there for?
About a year and a half, I think.
Can you explain what happened after 2 o'clock in the morning?
After
as
2
you were
o'clock?
cleaning up?
We kick everyone out, 2 a.m., absolute latest, everyone's out. We clean the entire bar. I mean, there's a lot of bottles in there. Got to dump everything, stock up for the next day. We got to count our drawers down, count our tips up. I mean, it's a lengthy process.
Is it fair to say after a busy night, there's quite a mess that can compile in the bar?
Yeah.
Empty beer bottles.
There's a lot of them.
Cups, so forth,
Yes.
correct? And you were there until the police arrived, correct?
Yes.
And what were your observations when the police arrived?
I think we're actually I was getting ready to walk out the door.
All right. Was Officer Finn in uniform?
I don't believe so, no.
All right. And did you hear the officers say anything to you or anyone else?
They didn't personally say anything to me, just
All right. Were you
taking
drinking?
IDs. No.
Did you see anyone else drinking?
No.
Okay. Counsel? I have no questions. Okay. All right, thank you. Next witness, please.
Caitlin Briggs.
Hi, could you introduce yourself?
My name is Caitlin Briggs. I'm a bartender at the Dubliner.
Okay. And what would you like to tell us, other than what's already written in the statement?
Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say.
Yeah. Counsel?
Caitlin, did you observe anyone drinking after hours, after 2 o'clock in the morning that night?
No.
You know the two doormen, correct?
Correct.
What are their names?
Dwight Sadler and Peter. I'm not sure if Peter's last name.
What were they doing at the time when the police officers came in? Do you remember?
We were all just getting ready to leave. The bartenders were counting their money. We were putting it away and just getting ready to walk out.
Did you have the lights on?
Yes.
Were you trying to hide anything?
No.
Nothing further.
Counsel?
No questions.
Commissioner? All right, thank you.
Christopher Lisi.
My name's Christopher Lisi.
Okay.
I have nothing to add to my written statement.
All right. Counsel, do you have any?
In addition to your statement, Christopher, you were there legitimately in order to help the DJ, correct?
Yes.
And did you witness the police come in?
Yes.
Did they say anything to you or anyone else?
Just asked for my ID.
That was it?
That's all I heard.
Which officer asked for your ID?
The officer that wasn't in uniform.
And can you point that officer out as he's sitting here tonight?
Wearing the blue.
All right. What was he wearing?
I believe it to be a black sweatshirt.
Did he display a badge to you?
I don't remember.
Were you drinking?
No.
Did you observe anyone else drinking?
No.
Did you observe either of the two doormen drinking?
No.
Nothing further.
I have no question.
In your statement, you say that you work for Greg, is it Jarvis?
Yes.
Are you employed by him?
Yes.
Okay. So does he pay you or does the Dubliner pay you?
Greg pays me.
Okay. So you don't receive any money from the Dubliner?
No,
So you're not an employee of the Dubliner, are you?
no.
Okay. Nothing further.
Greg Jarvis.
Please go ahead and introduce yourself. I'm sorry. Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Greg Jarvis.
All right. And other than your written statement, do you have anything that you want to add?
No, sir.
Counsel?
Thank you, sir. Now, Mr. Jarvis, Mr. Lisi just testified, correct?
Correct.
And he is your helper?
Correct.
And you have a lot of heavy equipment to load in and load out, and your function as the DJ, correct?
Correct.
And you need him in order to do that, is that correct?
Right.
All right. Were you drinking when the police arrived in the bar at 2:45 in the morning?
Absolutely not.
Did you observe the police arrive?
Outside or inside?
Inside the bar.
Yes.
Did they speak to you?
Just ask for ID.
They took your ID?
Correct.
Which officer took your ID?
It was the one that was not in a uniform.
How was he dressed?
I believe he was wearing a sweater, a sweatshirt of some sort.
Did he display a badge to you?
No.
Did you observe either of the doormen drinking after 2 o'clock in the morning?
No, nobody was drinking.
Thank you.
No questions.
Mr. Jarvis, are you employed by the Dubliner?
Yes.
Okay. And do you receive a W-2 or a 1099 from the Dubliner?
I imagine I will, yes.
Which would you receive? Are you an independent contractor? Or are you
Yeah,
an
I'll
employee
probably
of
get a
the Dubliner?
1099.
What's that?
Probably get a 1099.
Okay, so you're an independent contractor. You own your own DJ company or perform your own services?
Correct.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you-
private vendor.
So you're not an employee of the Dubliner. You own your own DJ company, and then they hire you to perform?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next witness.
Peter Soils?
Hi, my name is Peter Soilis. I have nothing else to add.
All right. I've got your written statement. What else would you like to add?
I have nothing else.
All right, counsel?
Mr. Soils, you're not a police officer, are you?
No, sir.
I noticed that you're wearing some type of uniform. Could you clarify to the commission what that would be?
I'm a security officer for Ally Button.
All right, and how many jobs do you work?
This, 2 jobs.
And is the other job the one as a doorman at the Dubliner?
That's correct.
And how many hours a day would you say on average you work?
At the Dubliner?
No, any period.
I'm a full-time security officer.
All right, so
40 hours.
In addition to the job at the Dubliner, how many hours a week do you work?
Some nights I work 2 nights a week, and some nights I just work 1, which
Right,
is...
but I'm asking you, how many hours a week do you work, both jobs combined?
I want to say about approximately 50 hours a week.
All right. And when you were working there that night, you were working at the door with a uniformed officer, correct?
That's correct.
And when 2 o'clock, the closing time rolled around, did you make sure that everyone who didn't work at the bar was out of the bar?
That's correct.
And did the detail officer make sure of that as well?
I'm not sure, but I think so. That's correct.
All right. And when you were there at 2:45 in the morning, were you there in order to help clean up? Is that part of your responsibilities as well?
Yes, that's correct.
And you actually transport cases of beer from downstairs in order to restock, correct?
That's correct.
And that takes some time, right?
Yes.
Now, do you ever, well, on the night that we're talking about here, you've heard all the testimony so far, correct?
Yes.
And you've heard the allegation that the officer was outside on the sidewalk and he saw you having a beer, correct?
That's correct, yes.
And is that true?
No, it's not.
Is there any reason why you can think that the officer may have been mistaken as far as you being seen having a beer?
I'm not sure, but on the bar, there was an empty bottle, maybe from cleanup, that we might have found in the bathroom or was just left there.
And did you see anybody else having any beers at that time?
No, I didn't.
And did you cooperate with the police when they arrived?
Yes.
And were you nervous?
No.
What did the police say to you, if anything, when they came in?
They didn't talk to me.
Did one of them take your ID?
No, they didn't.
Okay. Nothing further.
No. Any
I have no
questions,
questions.
counsel? No?
Mr.
Commissioner?
In your role at the Dubliner, do you work for the Dubliner, or are you in your role as a security officer for Allied?
No, I work for the Dumbler.
Okay, so you didn't have that uniform on when you were there?
No, I didn't.
Okay. And despite what the officers appeared to observe, it's your testimony that you weren't consuming any alcohol?
No, I didn't drink.
Okay. Did you have any drinks that night?
No, I didn't.
I just have one question. You said nobody took your ID?
That's correct.
Okay.
Dwight Sadler?
Hello, I'm Dwight Andrew Sadler.
All right, Mr. Sadler, in addition to your written statement, do you have anything to add?
Oh, one thing, I have no problems with the Lowell Police Department whatsoever, but one thing he said that he was patrolling by, there was actually a black Expedition parked directly across the street from the Dubliner. So I'm not sure if that was his or if it wasn't his, but if it was, I'm not sure if that makes any difference. Besides that, no.
All right, counsel?
Mr. Sadler, were you working the door at the Dubliner on that night?
Yes, I was.
And you were working with the gentleman who just testified?
Peter, yes.
As well as a detailed officer, correct?
Yes.
And at 2 o'clock, you made sure everyone was gone, is that correct?
Around that time, yeah.
All right. And you knew that night that you had just gotten off of some rollback hours, correct?
Yes.
So were you aware that there was sort of a heightened sense of responsibility to make sure that everything was done that night?
Yes.
And with that heightened sense of responsibility, did you make sure that there was no one who shouldn't have been there after hours?
Absolutely.
And that there was no one drinking?
Absolutely.
None of the staff were drinking?
None.
You weren't drinking?
No.
Now, you heard the allegation earlier that you were drinking, correct?
Correct.
Now, is there any way that you, as a guy working the door at a bar at 2:45 in the morning, could present any evidence to persuade this commission to believe your testimony over a police officer who just testified that he did saw you drink?
Just my word.
And are you fabricating your testimony here today?
No.
Now, what were you doing when the police came in?
I was sitting at a table directly across from where the taps are, on the left side of the bar.
Do you know whether there were any beer bottles in front of you?
There were a couple.
All right.
Well, there was a couple laying around the bar. I'm not sure exactly where they
What were you
were.
doing sitting there with beer bottles in front of you at that hour of the night?
Just being lazy, not putting them away.
All right. How far is it, would you estimate, from where you were sitting to the front window of the Dubliner?
Feet, I wouldn't be able to, I don't know, probably a little past from here, past the wall. I'm not sure exactly what the distance would, but it'd be a good amount of space past that wall.
Or would it be half of a football field?
No, not 50 yards, no.
All right. Would it be 25 yards?
Approximately.
When the officers came in, did you have any interaction with them?
No.
Did they take your ID?
Yes.
How was the officer who took your ID dressed?
The one that took my address was wearing a dark sweatshirt.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I have no questions.
No questions.
All right. No questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, nothing by means of witnesses.
Okay. Well, witnesses, thank you for your time and coming out. You are excused. If you want to leave, you're free to stay. This is a public hearing. The decision is up to you. Okay.
I just had a question. Did we ever get payroll logs or timesheets for these individuals that were here? Did you guys ever provide them to the commission?
We did not. They were never requested.
Do you have them in your possession?
We do not. We do not. We didn't think it would be relevant for this hearing today.
Are all the witnesses that testified today still currently employed by the Dubliner?
Yes.
Mr. Commissioner, but before we close the public portion of the hearing, would it be okay if I just called one final witness?
Absolutely.
Could Officer Finn come up to There have been some suggestions that your attire was not appropriate on the evening in question. Can you tell us what you were wearing that night?
When I drive the black Expedition, I do wear a blue sweatshirt, so that when I'm driving, people don't realize that I'm a police officer.
And were you otherwise in uniform?
Yes, I had a gun belt, I had my pants, I had my boots, I had everything.
You had your badge?
My badge, my radio, yes.
Okay, just checking. Thank you. Anyone else you want to call? Okay. Anything else you want to offer?
No. I could summarize. No other evidence to offer.
Okay. Well, summary, statements, anything you'd like to say?
Certainly. We didn't bring all these 9 people before the commission today just to have them tell a story or to have them try to criticize the police by any stretch. However, they're witnesses to the events that happened that evening. You know, working in a bar, as I'm sure you know, having had many people appear in front of you throughout the years who are employees of bars, they have a very difficult job. These people, as they sit here right now, they're not working because it's 5:45 and their bar isn't able to be open as a result. That night, they typically work until about, well, almost 3 o'clock in the morning. A lot of them have second jobs. They're hardworking people. And they're not doing it for the fun of it. One gentleman has a security officer uniform on here. It's his second job that he works. And they're not there to have a big party or a free-for-all. These people were very well aware that night that it was the first night that they were back to regular hours. They were expecting a big crowd. It would be understandable if this commission took the position of, well, how it's almost like you don't really care about what we think. We'll do whatever we want. How insulting is it to us, to our positions, to our authority, to the first night that you're back, regular hours, to be having an after-hours party like this. But these people were all there legitimately. They were all there working. I think the only fact that we really have in dispute here is that 2 of the gentlemen were drinking a beer. Now, they both denied that they were not drinking a beer. The officers testified that they were drinking a beer. I mean, after a hearing that's lasted about a half an hour, 40 minutes, that's what we're down to. Now, they did everything that they were, and if you read their statements, these are very conscientious employees, and they really shouldn't be punished for working hard and working late nights, working what amounts to be a second shift job because they were counting their money, loading, stocking the bar, putting the bottles away, waiting to walk young ladies to their cars because it's dangerous to walk around in that part of town that night. I mean, we can sit here and say to these people, well, you got to do your job more responsibly. and don't ever let this happen again. But the fact of the matter is, I mean, we could have come here and said, well, we're sorry. We realize that there were a couple of people drinking, and they shouldn't have been, and they know they shouldn't have been, and that might have been an easier approach to take. But it wasn't what happened, and these people have come in here and they've told the truth today to you. And it's just my hope that they're not penalized for doing that. And this is a situation where the police were doing their job appropriately. There was some question as to whether or not they knew that one of the gentlemen was a police officer. They testified about that. Should they have not? Should they have come in and said a different story and said, well, the officer was in uniform and showed his badge just so as to not risk offending the police? I mean, is that how a hearing like this operates? So I'd suggest at this point that no action be taken on this, given the testimony of the employees and given the fact that what this comes down to is a factual dispute as to whether or not someone was drinking a beer at a bar after hours, and there's been no testimony besides that of the police, which would indicate that they were.
Just want to add, Officer Finn, how long have you been on patrol in the downtown area?
Approximately 5 years.
Okay. Mr. Keys, how long have you been the manager of the Dubliner? Do you know Mr. Finn to be a police officer? Okay. Were you aware that night that he was a police officer? Yes. Okay. If he was wearing a clown costume, would you know he was a police officer?
If he was wearing a clown costume?
Yeah. If he was wearing not a police uniform, would you know he was a police officer?
If he was not wearing a
Yeah.
uniform? Me personally?
Yes. Okay. So that night you were aware he was a police officer? Okay.
All right, I'm not going to question. I think the police did a good job on this one, all right? I am probably weighing a little bit of life experience into this, but I don't think it's uncommon as people are wrapping up at the end of the night, because the sequence of the testimony was that all the garbage was taken out before the cash registers were wrung out, which means that all of the trash bottles would have been off the tables, and the bathrooms would have been cleaned out before all of this happened, if I heard all the testimony correctly in the sequence of events that are done and what I read was correct. I'm not necessarily convinced that a couple of people didn't say, I've had a long night, I'm gonna have a quick one before we go home. I'm not convinced that that's not the case, all right? But I am convinced that there weren't any members of the general public being served alcohol there. And I'm not condoning what happened because it was employees or independent contractors affiliated with the business. Not condoning it in any way.
I think in my experience on this board, keep saying attorney, Officer Finn and Lieutenant Seops have built up their credibility in my eyes, and I believe that they're telling the truth, that there was drinking going on in the establishment that night. I don't like the fact that Mr. Keys believes that the Dubliner was being unfairly treated by the Lowell Police Department. And I do believe that the witnesses that testified have reason to bend the truth a little bit to protect their jobs. So it's very difficult coming up with a resolution for this violation or alleged violation. But I just think, especially being the first night after having the hours rolled back, that a little more discretion would have been proper that evening.
And my suggestion, and I'm going to put this out there, is that because I'm not convinced that there wasn't drinking going on. I mean, look, I've worked behind a bar. I know plenty of people who've worked behind bars. I know the end of the night wraps up. And again, I'm not condoning employees drinking after hours. I'm also, have represented numerous clients who have been employees at different establishments who have consumed alcohol after hours and then been stopped on their way home. All right. I'm aware of what happens. I mean, I've got a little life experience here in having seen this. Now, with that having been said, given that it's not a member of the public that was being served, my suggestion is that I would make a motion to place this on file and basically keep it on a probationary status. Should we have another incident such as this coming up, say in the next 12 months, I would bring this one forward and consider, whatever a new offense is and this one, both for disposition. And I don't know if my fellow commissioner is amenable to that.
I don't think I'm amenable to that, placing it on file. I just don't, I think it warrants more than just getting a slap on the wrist. This is the second violation. If they were to be found in violation, it would be the second violation in a couple months span. And I think putting it on file might be too lenient of a penalty.
No, my concern here is that while you have an owner and manager, you had a guy who was on duty. And I'll be honest, I would lay this at the feet of the guy on duty because I don't care who you are. If you're in charge, you're in charge. You're in charge. You're responsible for everything that happens or fails to happen on your watch. Now the question is now, that's my concern.
Yeah, and I hear it.
And, I think a lot of that, too, is just, a leadership style, too, that, if it's tolerated, if it's accepted, if it's expected, I don't expect you to know if you weren't there what's happening with an individual. I know we had an issue just a few weeks ago where we had some, similar issues arise.
If I could just interject briefly. As you know, Mr. Economou hasn't been present on the premises since August.
Correct. We're aware of that.
And I know we're going to get to that, but I just want the commission, in light of that point, to be aware of the fact that it might be different. And he's voluntarily stayed away. However, I agree with the commission's conclusions that were just raised.
If I could interject as well, and I do hate to bring it up, but one of the reasons why I was concerned about taking this out of order is because, in my view, this is in fact not the second, but the third incident within the space of only a few months. And I know that from conversations with the superintendent that he has expressed some severe concerns about the number of incidents and their close proximity in time, and that's the concerns that this side of the desk, I think, is.
All right, then what I'd like to do then is I'd like to vote and see if we can enter a finding that there was consumption of alcoholic beverages on the premises after the closing time, and we can consider a disposition, because I'd like to hear the other matter as well. If there's no objection.
Is that perfectly okay with the law department?
If what you're suggesting, I believe it is that we enter a finding right
Well,
now,
I
but
don't wanna
withhold
make-
disposition
I
until
don't want
after.
to make a finding and a determination with respect to a third if we haven't yet heard a determination and finding with respect to an alleged second.
Correct.
All right, so I don't want to, and I understand where you make that representation that you consider it to be a third, but until I've made a finding on the second, I don't jump to a third. Okay?
I think that's appropriate.
So we're gonna I'll make a motion that there was consumption of alcohol.
I'll second that finding. All right, and with respect to any disposition on it, we'll hold that pending our other hearing with respect to the earlier event, unless we're stepping on any toes on that.
I'm sorry, you're directing something towards me, Commissioner. I'm
No,
not following.
you just, gave me kind of a puzzled look.
Yeah,
And I don't
I'm
know if
not
that's because
quite-
I was mumbling because I'm tired or because I'm not making sense.
But the issue before the board is the after-hours alleged, and that it appears...
And
if
we've
I-
made a finding that, yes, there was,
Whether the employees were engaged in any activity that would construed as working to close up the establishment. And is that the determination of the board?
I mean, I don't disbelieve that they were working to close up the establishment. I also don't disbelieve that people grabbed a beer on their way out. One for the road or calling it a night.
And so in the sequence of as Assistant City Solicitor Eric Slagle has just made a point, this is the third complaint brought before the board in a sequence of maybe 3 months.
Correct, but I don't want to take a disposition with respect to a third event until I've heard the facts and made a determination with respect to the second event.
But you also have the decision that the board rendered on the second complaint to do with the after-hours activity in which the licensee had to close earlier.
Okay, well, I guess
And
we've got this.
this is the follow, and this third complaint is a follow to that second complaint in which you had already acted.
Right.
To take earlier closing.
Correct, but we've also got one more complaint out there that I just want to hear before making a recommendation with respect to these findings.
Can I just one thing, if I may? There were 2 separate hearings, and you gave Attorney Talty the benefit of the doubt by allowing the second of the 2 to come before you. But I didn't know whether that was his intent to kind of confuse the issue on regards to the first.
Okay, well, let me
I
just...
would object to the benefit of the
No.
doubt language being used, frankly,
Okay.
because the only reason I asked for
I
it to be heard
apologize, sorry.
first is because we have people who
Yeah.
need to go to work.
Okay.
Well, what we're doing is we're finding that there was a violation of Chapter 12 of Section 12 of Chapter 138, that there was consumption of alcoholic beverages on a licensed premises after the legal closing time.
Right. And then what I'm now, with respect to anything further on this, I'm going to make a motion that we continue it for the hour or so until after we hear the other hearing. We took this out of order so that we could get the witnesses through.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Okay.
Before you start the next session, I have to go to a meeting, and I would just like, I didn't want to prejudice the discussion during here.
We still have another discussion that's coming up, so I'd ask you to actually hold it, because we're about to take a 2-minute recess.
Unfortunately, I have to go to another meeting, and that I'm chairing. My name is Stephen Green. I am a resident of the Downtown Neighborhood Association, and I just wanted to give you the feeling of the neighborhood.
I'm sorry, that's not before the board.
Okay.
Okay.
These issues have come up.
And I understand these issues have come up before, and there's a process where you actually have to send in a complaint. We will schedule it for a hearing, but I can't just have a free-for-all of people coming in and throwing in I want to throw in a few words. If you're a witness to something, I could have you testify. If it's just a general consensus of hearsay, then I do not want to hear hearsay testimony.
I can give you one element, witness item. They had posted on the door a handwritten sign that there was going to be a
Mr.
party.
Commissioner,
Yeah, I'm
there's
going
no
to have to
public
stop it
hearing
right
going
now.
on right now.
All right. All right, and we have a motion for a quick 2-minute recess.
Yes.
All right, second, yes.
You're welcome.
can't leave.
Well, the meeting you had to show up to.
May have some 111F benefits coming. Couple weeks off for that. All right, there's a motion to reconvene?
Seconded.
All right, all in favor? Yes.
Yes.
All right. Next item on the agenda?
Commissioner will now take up the matter of the allegations from the Superintendent of Police regarding the Dubliner, and this incident being the one of July 24th, 2008.
All right.
We're going to waive the reading of the charges, the reading of the complaint. If the commission would like to approach this, first of all, let me just thank the commission for giving us the opportunity to have the matter in the district court resolved before the commission came to any conclusions. The matter has been resolved, and I can report to the commission that there's been no conviction with regards to any of the 5 charges in this matter.
All right, so I'm actually going to make a motion that we go into executive session because I think the question I'm about to ask would infringe upon certain rules. So I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
In favor?
Okay, Commissioner Weicker?
Yes.
Commissioner Cation?
Yes.
Okay. So it's approximately 6:10 PM, and the commission will recess for, or executive session, I should say, for 5 minutes. Members of the commission, it's approximately 6:25 PM, and if you wish to entertain a motion to reconvene.
I will make the motion to reconvene.
I'll second it.
Commissioner Weicker?
Yes.
Commissioner Acacian?
Yes.
All right. I think we had a discussion back in executive session, and I would ask council how they wish to proceed.
Would be agreeable to waiving the reading of the complaint and the police report. The commission has in its possession the resolution of the relevant criminal matter, and based upon that and our discussions with the city solicitor's office, we're content to waive hearing and have the commission move based upon that.
Based upon the resolution and the police reports that are presented along with the complaint?
That's correct.
Okay. The city?
The city would like to make a brief statement and does accede to the licensee's request. In addition to the information that was discussed in executive session, the city is also prepared to offer testimony concerning individuals being on the location after business hours, being provided with alcohol by Mr. Economo, individuals who are not employees or related to the business in any way, as described in the police reports that were provided in this matter. And with that, I believe we'll rest on the reports that have been submitted in the discussion in executive session.
Okay.
To the extent to which Mr. Economo has abused his discretion as a license holder, he's sincerely regretful. Having said that, Mr. Economo is an individual who's been a multiple license holder in this city for some 25 years. His record is excellent. He's an outstanding member of the community, and he's made many contributions to the community. As you saw earlier today, he's an employee of a number of different, an employer of a number of different people who work in the community. And I believe and I would hope that the commission take his history into consideration when coming to a conclusion on this matter. Since this matter began back in August, he has voluntarily stayed away from his place of business. That's been given the fact that his life's work is essentially in the package store, bar, alcohol industry. It's been a very trying few months for him. He's very eager to return back to having an active role in his responsibilities as the owner of the Dubliner. The Dubliner is a bar that has a long history in this city. Mr. Economo has owned it for just a few years now. And upon his return, he fully intends to make sure that all of his employees comply with any type of requirement or regulation of not only the law, but this commission. And he also intends himself to make sure that he runs an impeccable operation. So I would ask the commission if they're inclined to take any further action on this matter, that they take all of those circumstances into account, and if there is any consideration of any further rollback or any suspension of any hours, that I be heard on that issue before the commission makes a determination on it.
City?
While it is the normal course of this office not to make specific recommendations with respect to penalties to the License Commission, I think it's important that the Commission understand the seriousness with which the superintendent takes the facts in this matter. And I would urge the Commission to take serious action to dissuade the kind of actions that are alleged here, that have been proffered here in form of police reports, given how far above the normal after-hour serving it appears that this incident was. And as such, we would urge the Commission to take into account the history of the Dubliner, the fact that they've already been disciplined one time by this Commission within the last couple of months, and have at this time there have already been facts found for another violation recently. That this is not the kind of allegation that either the police or the Commission can take lightly. Thank you.
And Council, I guess we are inclined to consider a suspension or rollback of hours, and you did ask for the opportunity to be heard on that issue. What
Just
would you like
briefly, given the fact that we're approaching a holiday next week, my only request would be to stay any type of rollback until the 1st of December.
If I could just be heard, just very briefly on that. Respectfully, in my review of the records of the License Commission has not, in at least the last 5 years, allowed any stay of a discipline that is imposed, and in fact, in recent months, has specifically denied those requests. So I would respectfully request the Commission to not hear any requests for a stay at this time.
I was going to say, I do recall us doing it with respect to the Gaelic Club, probably back in, is that about May?
I don't know. They had something around the 4th of July.
It was around the 4th of July thing, and they wanted to push it off so that it covered the holiday rather than was done before the holiday.
I don't know.
But, okay.
Well, we're not having a hearing, but
right.
I believe after our discussions in executive session and what's been alleged, there were 4 alleged violations on July 24th, 2008, and I'd be inclined to find the Dubliner in violation of 3 of them. One would be the delivering alcoholic beverages to persons during mandatory hours of closure in violation of Chapter 138, Section 12. The next one would be hindering the investigation of agents of the License Commission in violation of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 63A. And the 4th one would be violation of 204 CMR 2.05, paragraph 2. No license for the sale of alcoholic beverages shall permit any disorder, disturbance, or illegality of any kind to take place in or on the licensed premises, and the licensee shall be responsible therefore whether present or not. And with that being said, I'd move that the license at the Dubliner be suspended for 14 days starting tomorrow.
Before I... Let me ask Mr. Economo or Council, what would you recommend were you in our shoes in light of the circumstances?
I think in light of the circumstances, obviously the board is in a position where some type of action is warranted. However, a suspension of the license would result in possible loss of employment for the people who are working there now. That would be a deep concern. Have people take 2 weeks off from work and then be able to return would be a problem. To answer your question directly, I believe that something in the order of a rollback would be more appropriate with the stay that we've requested. See, they're in a position where, with the Thanksgiving holiday approaching in, well, I guess a week from tonight, that is one of the, as the commission is aware, the night before is one of the more major events of the year for the city, and there are preparations made in advance whereby the various vendors have been already contacted, and the economic hardship related to the suspension occurring immediately would be quite severe for them. I would suggest a rollback with the stay for some period to conclude before Christmas.
My only concern about not having it start tomorrow is that we, as a commission, gave Mr. Economo and the Dubliner the courtesy of continuing this hearing till today. And that would be my concern. These allegations happened in July of, these violations happened in July of '08, and to pick and choose when you're going to be punished is, I don't think, quite fair to the other licensee holders, or the license holders that don't commit violations.
With all due respect, just briefly, I don't know if it's quite characterized as a picking and choosing of when. I think it really boils down more to what is the level of severity of the punishment. And I believe that, obviously, if it occurs immediately, the level of severity is raised significantly. So it's really more of an issue of level of punishment than it is a picking and choosing of dates. And again, we are thankful to the Commission for allowing the criminal matter to run its course, to come here. And the reason for the scheduling of this date for an event that occurred some months ago was strictly due to the calendar of the district court.
It's just my feeling that severe violations or actions that lead to violations should result in severe penalties.
If I may just interject one thing, members of the commission. Thanksgiving evening, or should I say the evening of Thanksgiving, whether it be the city of Lowell, the town of Dracut, town of Tingsboro, Tewksbury, is one of the busiest business nights for any bar owner in the city of Lowell, or any other community. The fact that the Lowell Police Department has had ample experience in dealing with the Dubliner in the last 3 to 4 months, come the evening of Thanksgiving, they will be hard-pressed to control other bars and restaurants in the downtown area, let alone trying to control the Dubliner or any other establishment singly. So I would just put that to the board's attention.
If that is the case, and we're in agreement that the level of severity is heightened, given the fact that this is the busiest night of the year for a bar. If the commission is inclined to not stay the suspension, I would suggest that then it might be appropriate to consider shortening the length of the suspension.
If I could just interject just quickly. I think it's appropriate. I think it's appropriate to note that this is intended to be progressive discipline. This is not the first time that the Dubliner has been before the commission, and I don't think it would be appropriate for the licensee to receive some suspension equal to or lesser than earlier suspensions, even if the offenses were identical. In this case, where I believe that the police reports that have been stipulated to and are in front of the board show offenses that are more egregious than earlier offenses, it's appropriate to have a severe punishment, and that either reducing the suspension to a rollback or putting off the suspension until after an especially profitable time would only minimize the kind of deterrent effect of that suspension on the licensee, and as such, I would suggest the License Commission not accede to those requests.
My concern is this, with respect to the progressive nature of discipline. We've already sentenced with respect, well, we've made a finding with respect to what happened in 1010. We had an earlier hearing where we sentenced a prior event, which was a service of an intoxicated person that resulted in the 1-week suspension. And now we're going back and we're getting a July date. And I understand that a lot of this was delayed as a result of our allowing the criminal thing to take its course. But it almost seems like a reverse progression. I don't know that necessarily a harder penalty necessarily for that would necessarily.
I would suggest I'm not discussing without a discussion of the October incident.
Sure.
The fact that there have been other incidents with the Dubliner, and then there was this incident that is in greater severity, other incidents that have already had findings, not including the October one. I would suggest that I didn't intend the commission to believe that I was considering that and when I was discussing a progression to discipline.
I understand.
I do believe that the commission would need to make a further finding as to discipline after this with respect to the October incident, and we can discuss that when the time is appropriate.
Commissioner Occasion, your motion is to 14-day suspension?
It's 14-day suspension commencing November 21st.
Okay. And there was no probation involved, just strictly a 4 days closing?
14.
Yeah, 14
yes,
days.
yes.
I'm sorry. If I may also, that just pertains to the incident of the complaint of the July 24th?
That's correct.
Yeah.
See, I would actually like to see a portion of that suspended. And I know that I know I'm not mixing my apples and my oranges here, because I'm also thinking with respect to the after hours. I think we've previously done a 7-day suspension for an after hours, and I think, or not a suspension, but a rollback. And I think that that's probably appropriate for the portion of it that deals with the after hours consumption.
Well,
that's my thought and process on this.
Mr. Commissioner, I would suggest that for two reasons. Number one, because we're not technically discussing that at this point.
That's correct. But we do have a similar offense in this one. We also have an after-hours service, which I do agree with Commissioner Occasion did occur. So, and from the police reports, I don't have any doubt with that. But so I am thinking progressively with respect to the after-hours service.
But I also wanted
thinking along that
to
track.
make it clear that, at least according to ABCC in Boston, it's important that we have separate discipline for each individual
Yes.
occasion, so that we're not discussing the October.
Well, that's why I'm not
incident.
trying to mix my apples and oranges.
Okay.
I'm just
I just-
thinking,
it
when we're
may have been
talking
my
progressive,
confusion.
I'm thinking that we've already sentenced, I don't remember the date of the other offense, whether it was
October.
No, there was another one in between.
I'm sorry, the
Where they just
one
got-
that's already been
where
resolved.
they've gotten off suspension, so that's why I'm thinking that we're thinking along those lines with respect to after-hour service. It seemed to be inappropriate in that situation for a rollback. Obviously, this being another, and us having made a finding with respect to a third, I'm very concerned with after-hours activity.
So is my motion going to fail as for failure to second it?
Yes. I would make a motion for 14 days suspension, suspended for a period of 1 year with a 21-day rollback of hours to 11 o'clock, which would basically roll hours back to 11 o'clock for 3 weeks and keep a 14-day suspension for any violation coming up.
Before that's operated on, obviously, the irony being that in the next hearing, you might actually have to impose that 14-day suspension for the subsequent finding.
I was actually thinking of tacking, but that's only because of disposition all in one evening. I don't want to contradict my own logic process. I was trying to avoid irony.
So a 14-day suspension that's suspended for a year.
Year of probation.
Year of
on it.
probation with a 21-day rollback.
If I can just interject another matter to do with the state law. Massachusetts state law under Section 12 allows the licensing board to decrease the hours of a licensee, but not affect the hours before 11 p.m. nor before or after 11 a.m. So 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. is the law which allows the licensee to operate their business. Point being that they have no right to appeal that action of the licensing board regarding the hours. The licensee has been given proper notice, 14 days minimum. If you interject something like a suspension with that, or a suspension and a suspended suspension, probation, then it opens it up for appeal to the Alcoholic Beverages Control Commission. I would, with due respect to the board, and I know the members are probably, this is a whole new experience for them, but I would just suggest to the board that you keep the two separate matters distinctly separate, so that if...
I haven't reached the second matter. I'm still thinking on the first matter.
And I would suggest to the board that if the severity, as Commissioner Occasion has suggested, by its severity, it would more than reasonably consider a suspension and leave it at that. And if you wish to suspend that suspension and give a probation, so be it. But I think that would pretty much put that situation to bed. Certainly the attorney representing the Dubliner could appeal that action. And then if you wish to go forward with the second matter to do with the second instance of after hours, or the third instance, if you will, and then consider just strictly a rollback of hours, and that would be separate, distinct. So even if they appeal the first decision, being the July 24th matter, they're still closing earlier. The ABC can't say, well, the licensing board their decision is somewhat, should be remanded back to them because they mixed the apples and the oranges.
Is the secretary making a motion at this
No,
point? I'm
I-
just on a
no,
point
he-
of order,
I'm
not
trying to
clear.
expedite this matter, Attorney Talty, to the point to the board is,
He's just this is the first time that both Ray and I have ventured into this severity of an
It's- yeah.
allegation. So he's
It
just
is-
clarifying using his years of
But
experience.
he's giving us the benefit of his years of experience with respect to what issues could come before the ABCC. Could we end up having to have this hearing again if the ABCC finds out that, determines that we mixed an unappealable sentence with an appealable sentence? The unappealable sentence being the rollback of hours, the appealable sentence being a suspension.
I'm not going to second that motion, but what I will do is I'll make a motion for a 21-day suspension beginning December 1st, 2008.
Is that for a suspension?
For a suspension, yes.
My concern on that is, it's the 3 weeks leading up to Christmas, and employees not getting paychecks for those 3 weeks is, I don't know that I have that in me. And I'm not trying to downplay the severity of this. I can see what the problem that happens here is that, it's real easy when I got the guy who owns the bar, who sits behind the bar, who, commits the offenses, and he's the one who's gonna lose his income. When I've got a whole bunch of people who are working. Now, obviously, the W-2 employees qualify for unemployment for those 3 weeks.
And if we just suspended the liquor license, they could still serve food.
well, if I may, just to say, yes, that's true. It is a valid action of the board. Certainly, you could just suspend strictly no alcohol. But here's the problem, and I think the Lowell Police Department could speak well of this, is that when you do something like that, you would mandate that the licensee remove all signs of alcohol beverages, only for the sake that if Officer Finn is doing his night patrol at 2:10 p.m. and Jason Keys wants to sit there and have a cup of coffee with a friend, he's not thinking, did they just pour a
Okay, I'll reassert my motion then, a 21-day suspension beginning December 1st, 2008.
It used to be a common practice of the License Commission, if I may, just for the sake of the board, and for nobody else, taking matters of this nature under advisement. You certainly may take it under advisement, think about it, come back at our next regular meeting, which is scheduled, as I have it scheduled, assuming you concur, obviously you have to concur, December 4th, 2008. You can continue it to that point. I think all of us are pretty much tired. It's been I think we've had a 4-hour meeting, and it's a first.
All right, I'll make the motion to take it under advisement with respect to the 724 offense. Now, with respect to if we can go back to the 1010 offense, as we earlier made a finding, I still will make a motion, given that was a less severe, I would make a motion for a 14-day rollback of hours to 11 o'clock to begin
So if we take it under advisement, the Dublin is free to open the day before Thanksgiving? Right, okay, okay.
I would just suggest, if, however, with the second one, and this is, I realize I'm mixing my apples and oranges, you did a 14-day rollback.
We've got
It
apples,
include-
oranges, and
it would
pears at
include
this
the day
point.
before.
Yeah, you're right,
Yeah.
you're right. That's on the second one.
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, I do believe it's appropriate to deal with the
It's the
first one
the
first.
first
and
one's
then we'll
first.
deal with the
Okay.
second one second.
If that is the case, wouldn't it make more sense to, if we're shelving the resolution of these issues, wouldn't it make more sense to pick up both issues at the next meeting on December 4th? Because the intent of having them heard and not coming to a resolution on one was so that both could be resolved at the same time, if I remember. I know it was a while ago, but I believe that was the point of the board in not coming to a resolution on the most recent in time event was so that evidence could be heard on the earliest event, and then come to a decision having had all of the evidence for both events on both events.
No, I think on this one, my concern with, all right, my concern with the second one was, that we had two events, we had two hearings on for tonight, for a single night, which was my mistake. I'll probably never do that again. I say probably because I'm prone to repeat some bad mistakes. But my concern with it was that I didn't want to talk about any disposition or possible outcome, having not reached a determination as to whether we were talking about a first offense, second offense, or a third offense having occurred. Now that we've gotten findings with respect to the one that had already been previously dealt with, and with respect to these two as to what has occurred or findings have been entered on those, I think that I can fairly and appropriately make a recommendation with respect to the 1010 event. My concern is that the 724 event is the much more serious one, and what's been suggested on that, I'll be honest, I'm not comfortable with. So I would make the recommendation for a 14-day rollback with respect to the 1010 offense.
We got to do this in order here.
Okay.
I was just to make sure we close out the first one first.
So,
Let's make a motion.
So with respect to the 724, I'm making a motion to table that until 12/4/08.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Returning to the earlier closed out 1010 offense.
Make sure you make a motion to reopen that.
Okay.
Make a reopen, a motion to reopen the 1010-08 offense.
A second motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Having reopened that, I'm going to make a motion for a 14-day rollback to commence this evening, or,
I'll second that.
yeah,
Till what time?
to 11 o'clock.
11 p.m.?
Yeah. That way, we shouldn't have any issues with respect to all the cleanup being done.
No.
Okay.
So just for the record, is that tonight or tomorrow?
Tonight.
Tonight.
So on the matter, just for the sake of clarification, for the purpose of public understanding, the allegations of the complaint against the licensee for the incident of July 24th, 2008, in which the manager of record was on the premises after hours and Lowell Police had to force entry into the premises, et cetera, et cetera. That matter's been continued to the meeting of December 12th. The decision of that is continued to December 4th.
We've already made a finding with respect to misconduct that I believe Commissioner Occasion has made. I've agreed with. The question then is going to be, we've tabled the issue with respect to disposition.
The disposition, okay.
Okay.
As far as what, if any penalty will be
correct
acted upon. There would be no further public discussion, no further public hearing on this matter. It's closed.
Correct.
It's all closed, okay. And then for the purpose of the matter of the incident of October the 10th, 2008, when several or more individuals were on the premises, some of whom may have been employees, effective this evening, November 20th, licensee will close at 11 p.m. for 14 consecutive days.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. And just quick, I know we've been here for 4 hours, but
the ABCC issued a list of when you get pulled over for OUIs, they ask you where the last place you had your drink was, and they had a list that was published, and there were no establishments from the city of Lowell. So I think that's just like to commend the establishment owners in Lowell for doing a good job of preventing people from driving after being in their establishment. And with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
You don't want to address any of the correspondence or communications?
We'll talk about it.
Okay.
I'll communicate to you, board members, and we'll make these announcements at the next meeting.
Right.
Okay. Then I'll second the motion, and we can all, go visit Benjamin.